All right, how's everybody doing out there Friday afternoon? We'll get started in just a couple minutes. I'll say a hi to everybody who's already hi'd at me. Dr. Ahmed, whatever maker, which that is a login, a username I appreciate. Our good buddy Matt, who can't be here in the studio with us, did work. It's not alliteration. What's the name for the word when you just put the same word into a sentence over and over again? About how this is a watershed moment. Can't wait for you to shed some light on the shed. Thank you, Matt. He's not here, but he's here. Dano, Sylvester, Jimmy, how are you guys all doing? Happy Friday to everyone. Lift my voice, plead. Are you saying that it's a little quiet? I'll throw that out there. You guys let me know if this doesn't sound quite loud enough. I can adjust that. A lot of things I can't do on here. I can't play music in the background. I can't make porgs pop up in my model. But I can turn the volume up if I need to. So let me know if I hear that from more than one person, then we'll adjust the volume. Looks okay right now. I'm getting the proper amount of green lights are popping up. So hello, Turkey, Indonesia, Texas. How are you guys all doing? A little louder. Okay, we can do that. There, how's that? That's, I'm wandering into the yellow territory, guys. This is dangerous. This is where I could get in trouble for yelling at you guys. A little more Texas. A little quieter than usual. Maybe my mic is not pointing at my talking spot very well.
Well, you can hear me okay, though.
Can hear? That's right.
Who is me, though? Who am I?
All right. We will officially, kind of officially get this thing started.
Is this like the Waiting for Godot episode of the SketchUp live stream?
That's right. So we already covered. Unfortunately, Matt is not here. He's here, but not here. So he's hanging out with you guys on the other side of the camera. We do have Mr. Mark Harrison is over there. You guys can't see him. He's over there. Trust me, you can hear him. So he'll be helping out when I
am here.
Help me out when I accidentally ignore you guys. So
I like to think of myself as a little bit of a wild card today, Aaron. I'm going to be your wild card.
Let's mix it up.
The great thing is that I can actually see Aaron's facial reactions to my wild cardness in real time.
Yep. So it'll be a mask of professionalism you will see right here.
It's always that with you.
I know, that's how I roll. So speaking of professionalism, so I came in this morning and I was actually wearing a different shirt. So I just realized I actually have this sticker on here still. I had to run and buy a new shirt, which actually worked out pretty well because this is a good shirt. I like this shirt. Star Wars, got the Millennium Falcon, the vintage look. A good shirt overall. But I wasn't wearing it this morning when I came in the office. I was actually wearing this shirt, which is a shirt I really like, but that texture is not actually white. That's bright green, which is the same color as our green screen. So I was setting up this morning and wondering, wow, like that's a weird whitish color. Because let's do this. Let's zoom in way in on this mark, and you can see, see the issue I had with this t-shirt? This is why I had to go buy a new one. I don't know, you guys probably would have been okay with it, but it would have distracted me like nothing else. I would have been totally distracted. It would have been rough. So anyhow, yeah, we're gonna go with the Star Wars shirt. How are you guys all? How's everybody doing? Is everybody having a good day? Good Friday. It is Friday, which is nice. I like when it's Friday. I only get to say that once a week, but hopefully you guys are all having a good one. We are, let's see, what are we doing? We're gonna make a shed today. So here's the reason we're doing a shed. I don't think anybody specifically asked for a shed. It's possible, somebody out there may have asked. And if I'm not calling you out, forgive me. But what we wanted to do, I've wanted to do some more architectural stuff as we've done. We've done some awesome stuff. The jet last week was a blast, and we did Toy Story and that kind of stuff. So it's been a good time. It's been a lot of fun. But I did want to do some architectural stuff. Architecture's hard though because I'm not an architect personally. So building a building from scratch is not really something that's in my toolkit. I've done a lot of design work. I used to be a building designer. So going in and taking a set of plans and putting that into a 3D model, that's something I've done a lot of and have shared through some of our different videos throughout the year, or throughout the last couple of years. But putting together one of those in our 3 or so hours we have here didn't seem too exciting. I mean, for one thing, it's a lot of repetitive input. You draw a wall, then you draw another wall, then you type in another dimension, then you type in another dimension. And it's the same stuff over and over and over again. Plus, I wasn't sure, like, in 3 hours that we'd get to any good stuff. So we've talked about things like maybe we just do a roof, or we just do different details, or, you know, maybe we'll build a highly detailed door or window component. I don't know. That's some stuff we've talked about. But what I came back to was a shed, because a shed is basically a miniature house. It's a little, maybe 8 foot by 8 foot, 4 by 8. It's going to be a tiny version of a house. So all the things that go into a house are going to go into a shed.
Really?
More or less. I mean, we're not going to put a toilet in this particular shed, but I bet that's there.
That was exactly what I was wondering about. I was hoping a tiny toilet was going to be part of this project this afternoon.
Well, hey, I'm not saying no. I'm just not saying yes. So we'll see how it goes. But I figured a lot of the same stuff works. We're going to put in walls. We're going to put in door and window openings. We're going to put a roof on it. We'll do a little floor. I would like to go in and frame the whole thing, and then we'll do kind of a takeoff on what exactly would be needed. What would I have to go buy to build this specific shed? So that's the direction I was thinking of going. If that works for you guys, please let me know. I did start, okay, just occurred to me how close Mark was to my face there. He's like, creeped me out, standing right behind me. Creep, back off.
My job.
So this is a different Mark, by the way. The Mark you see on your screen is actually not the Mark that's over there. So I'll try to specify. 2D Mark and 3D real life Mark. Just in case you guys are wondering. So that's not him talking. He's not. So I did start a topic on the forum. If you do go to forums.sketchup.com and search for garden shed or live modeling a garden shed, you'll see the forum post right there. So that's a good way to, if you guys have things you want to pass to me, images or details, something like that, go ahead and post it up there and I will see them pop up on the screen. So, all right. I'm sorry, I'm here. I get like a backup. We got a hello from India. Alejandro, how's it going? Back for more. It's Friday night. All right. Wutu's been on the beach. I am jealous of that because that doesn't sound too bad. It's been warm here, but we don't really have beaches. Colorado has a lot of things going for it. Beaches is not one of them. We have like reservoirs with kind of fine gravel sprinkled around them. We don't really beach very well. We pretend beach.
So getting back to the tiny house, so to speak. So we're modeling a shed, not a tiny house.
Mm-hmm.
But are we going to cover the roof? Some roofing?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
We'll throw a roof on here. I have somebody out. I was gonna write his name down. Actually, I think I did write his name down, but I don't remember what it was because I don't have wherever I wrote that down. He keeps asking for a specific type of roof, and it's not that complicated. It's not that different from a standard roof, so I figured I would just show it in here when we get to the roof portion. So, yeah, so that's kind of where we're gonna go. So, yeah, continue on down here. George Knowles, how's it going? He says it's cloudy here today in Wisconsin. I wish we had a little cloud. It's sunny and it's warm here. And as we've discussed, we don't have beaches. So Uganda. Marvin's asking about extensions or native. Most of this will be native. I can't say I won't hit an extension somewhere, but I want to do a lot of this with native. Not because I'm trying to do anything special, or it's not like a commitment, I'm going to do this all native. Just this is kind of what SketchUp lends itself to, so I don't know that I'll be using a whole lot of extensions for this one. So, all right. Hey Dave, hey Ian, hello Ella. All right, so we're going to, with that, let's hop in here. So I don't have a set of plans for this. I just wanted to kind of hop in and just start making. In the past, we've done a lot of image import, that kind of thing. I figured this will be our special thing. This will be us making this thing. So with that, let's hop in here. So I was trying to think of how to model this, what size I wanted. And the sizes that came to me were based on a piece of sheathing, OSB. So I'm going to put a 4x8 rectangle on the ground. So this would be just a single piece of sheathing, and that would be an increment that I would have in my head for how big this shed should be. This is a little small. This is not a very big shed. So if I was making it for my house, this is probably what I do because I don't have a very big yard. That's big enough for maybe a lawnmower, handful of tools. That's probably about it. So maybe what we'll do is we'll double on that. We'll start with a footprint of 8x8. So that sounds like that'll work pretty good. Hello Poland and hello France. Martin's asking if we can have a living roof. A living roof. I always thought you said a living room, playing off of Mark's request for a toilet in the shed. But I don't know because I don't know what a living roof is.
Living roof is like a roof with.
Is it like where you put grass on top?
Plant grass or plants. Yeah, I mean, green roof.
All right, so
how you'd have to be able to water that though, and have some sort of easy to maintain infrastructure.
I would imagine, and I just gotta say that being here in Colorado, the high desert, which we are desert due to our lack of rainfall, probably wouldn't put dirt and grass on a roof of a structure because a hard enough time just keeping my lawn on the ground.
Any
water.
Yeah. But I gotta say, it sounds like kind of a wild card thing that
it's a
we're
cool
just
idea.
getting into.
I'm not gonna say no. How's that? I'll give you. That's.
You
not
said,
saying no.
said no twice to my ideas.
That's right. There hasn't been any no's yet. There are no bad ideas. That's not true at all. We should just clarify this. There's lots of bad ideas. There's certain situations where it's not bad to throw bad ideas out, though. All right, that's all I'm gonna say about that. Let's go back to this 8x8 footprint. All right, so here's how I would go through this. I would say what I would do, I'm gonna start by initially just kind of mocking up a shape. So I'm gonna just take this and I'm gonna pull this up, we'll say 7 feet. So I wanna put a fairly full height door in here. I wanna make it big enough so I don't have to duck my head going in, but at the same time, we don't need a full 8-foot tall shed or a 9-foot tall shed or anything like that. So if we go this big, that's pretty good. And then we're gonna have to put Dr. Ahmed, you need to stop, you need to be nice. You can't be telling people to shut up all the time. You'll have to go if that's what you do. All right. Let's go back to here. So what I'm thinking of is just a gable roof. Just something, we'll just go up, go down, maybe a short overhang on the side, little eaves, maybe just like 6-inch, nothing big. So I'm thinking something along those lines. I don't want to go into too much detail again right now, so what I might do is just do something like, I'm just going to kind of mock up what the profile will look like for that roof, and then we'll detail it later. So what I'm thinking is something like this. I'm going to come up about 4 inches. I'm going to come out about 6 inches. And then I'm just going to drop a line straight down like that. All right, so that looks good. I want to have maybe a 412 slope on this. So that means if I drop down 2 inches and draw this line, that's about a 412 slope. I don't need a whole lot more than that. What I'm going to do now is just use that to continue a line through like that. I'm going to go to the midpoint right here, continue that straight up. All right, so that looks pretty good. So for right now, for just my general shape of my roof, I'm going to use this right here. No details here yet at this point. I'm gonna select that, use rotate, grab it, option, flip it around like that, push, pull it across. All right, so for right now, that's gonna give me an idea of how my roof's gonna look. If I wanted to, I could do something like this too. I come up and draw a line parallel to the roof, and I could push that out 6 inches just to give myself a little bit of an eave there on the front. All right, so something like that is what I'm thinking for my shed. I'm gonna throw a door in here real quick. Like I said, I'm not seeing a full height door probably, but let's say it's, I'm gonna actually build this door too. We won't get like a stock normal door. We're gonna just build a shed door out of some material. So let's say that means we can make it whatever height we want. I'm gonna make it 6'3" tall. And I wanna make it wide enough that my mower can get in and out without too much of a problem. So I'm gonna make it, well, let's make it 3 feet wide. And the nice thing about this, because I know who's sitting over here, we're gonna get the request to change some of these dimensions at some point. It's gonna happen. All right, so there's my door, and because we've already talked about it, I'm gonna throw a window in here too. So this is maybe the concept here is I'm building this. I'm modeling this with the intention of building it myself. So I'm just gonna say maybe I want. I'm gonna actually go to Restore or something like that, and I'm gonna salvage a window. So it's gonna be a specific size. I'm just gonna make up what that size is because I can, because this is mine. I'm gonna put the top of the opening for the window same height as the door, so I'm just holding on Shift as I'm on the blue axis and clicking right here. And I'm gonna say I got a window that is 3 feet wide and 4 feet tall, so I'm gonna draw half of that. I'm gonna say 1.5 feet. I'm gonna drop down 4 feet. There we go, and I'm gonna make a copy of it. So I could have actually figured out where I could have dropped down 2 feet from here and drawn a rectangle from the center, but I guess that was just habit, is to draw those lines around, because that's the way I did before. All right, so I'm gonna say something like that is what I want for my shed. Done. See you guys next week. All right, we do a little more than that. Just to check in, see how everybody's doing. Vinyl siding, we could possibly put something like that on there. I'm not gonna say no to that for sure. Let's see. Aaron uses it for his woodworking renderings. Asking about this thing right here. It's pretty normal about this point. So this is a 3D mouse. This is from a company called 3D Connection, and this is their Space Mouse Enterprise. It's the little puck right here is how you go about moving in 3D space. It also has a series of shortcut keys all the way around the puck that allows you to not have to move your hand over to the keyboard constantly to do input. One of the things that's not over here is a number pad. So as I do dimensions, I do hop off to do that. But a lot of the most commonly used commands, the modifier commands, the arrow keys, I actually have mapped over here. So sometimes you'll see my hands not move as much as you think they should, and that's probably because I got some shortcuts over here. Hey Leo, welcome back. So that's what we've got so far.
Just an idea, Aaron.
Yes, sir.
You can say not yes to it if you want, or not no to it.
I can say not yes.
But is this door you have in mind a door that opens out, opens in? What are you thinking about there?
So as a shed, I would open it outward
Mm-hmm.
because I want to get it out of the way as I bring stuff in and out. That way I don't have to worry about swing inside. I don't have to have a clear space for it to swing. So it would probably end up with hinges on the outside and open out.
Mm-hmm. I'm
That'd
just
be
gonna
my
play
thought.
the idea. Here's the idea
All right.
then, because at my house I have a shed, and it has a door that opens out, but I got a pretty small yard, and like there's a tree next to my shed, and there's things I keep next to my shed, and there's a house. So I kind of always wanted a shed door that was almost like on hinges that could slide out, so that it didn't create that much extra room outside of the shed. So just throwing one at you there. Maybe we could try something new later on.
Like a barn door could slide across.
Exactly.
That might be pretty cool. And we got time. I think we will have several iterations of this design by the time we are done. So that's a good idea. Remember that one. All right. Hello, Australia.
The question on the stream too is, I think this is the case, that these videos afterwards are on YouTube, right? So if Aaron's going a little bit fast or something, or if you're kind of curious how he did the roof or the eaves, or I think the detail's going to increase as we go on. You can check this video out on YouTube after, start over, watch things at a slower pace. So that's an option for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, this video will live in perpetuity on YouTube, so you can always get to it there. The stream will stay as a video on Facebook too, so if you're watching on Facebook, it will stay there. Not as many people seem to go back and rewatch videos on Facebook as they do on YouTube, but it's there. And then Twitch, it will live for 2 weeks before it disappears. All right, Ian is reminding me, because he knows me so very well, that I should probably save. And I agree. Let's go save this thing. And I'm going to call it a shed. All right. So that's what this is. Now, how do we take this and make it into an actual project? How do we actually make this into something we could build? Like I said, this was kind of my initial stab at reference. And what I was thinking here is this is where I could do things like I could check, okay, let's see, make sure the footprint's gonna work, 8 foot by 8 foot. Maybe I have a limitation in my neighborhood of how tall I can make this. This is 8'8". If I have a limitation, say, secondary structures can only be 8 feet tall, or they have to be below my privacy fence. I don't know. Whatever the reason is, I can do that on this initial massing model first. So if I did have to drop the roof by 6 inches, I could just grab this right here and drop it down 6 inches. And I can do that now where it's low impact. So changing that now doesn't mean I have to go mess with a bunch of components or change a bunch of stuff. So that's kind of where the massing model comes into play. Oh, and look at that. I'm sorry. Ju Young is saying he's joining us from Korea at 3 a.m.
Good morning.
That may be the winner.
Good morning.
That blows my mind, you guys. I'm not thinking about SketchUp at 3 a.m. my time, but that is so cool that you get to join us. That's awesome.
Coffee must be really, really good.
Yeah. Woo. Or you haven't gone to bed yet. That's possible too, in which case you're probably not drinking coffee anyways. All right, so my inclination at this point, there's a couple ways I could do this right now. I could grab faces from here and kind of start using those to put together my actual frame model. What my inclination would be to take this and make it a group and just leave it right here and start building my actual framed model on the ground next to it. That way I can check dimensions, I can actually pull dimensions, so if I came over here and I want to draw my line up and I didn't know how far it was up to the eave, I could actually just lock in the vertical dimension and snap right here. So that's kind of what I'm thinking I would do. I think, and because I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do, then that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, so this is the Space Mouse Enterprise from 3D Connection. Mark could probably grab a link to the product page on 3dconnection.com and throw it in here so you guys can see it. So we are going to do that. So I'm just going to leave this group right here. If I wanted to, I could actually right-click and lock this too, just to be safe, to make sure I don't modify it or anything like that, or at least put that that safety cover on there. You know those old like switches you see in the movies where they have to flip off the switch before they hit the ignition button or whatever? That's what that is. So that's just preventing me from having to, preventing me from accidentally deleting or manipulating, anything like that. It's not, I mean, it's pretty easy to come in and unlock it and make a change, but I'm hoping I won't do that. All right, so that's enough talking about things. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna start the ground and work my way up. I do want to, like I said, I wanna frame as much of this as possible, and then I want to actually go in and check what materials I had and actually get a list of it. I'm gonna use Generate Report to generate a complete list of the framing in here. So let's start there. So first thing I'm gonna have is my flooring. So my floor, I have to think about how exactly I wanna do this. I'm gonna try to keep the top of my flooring at this height right here. So I'm gonna come over and I'm gonna start by drawing a rectangle, and I'm gonna make that rectangle 4 foot, 8 foot, enter. All right, this is one sheet of my flooring material. I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna offset it down. I'm gonna make it, I don't know, 5/16 of an inch. And then I'm gonna triple click and make that into a component. And I'm gonna call this 4 foot by 8 foot, 5/16 OSB. And if I was actually doing this for something I was going to build, I would probably have a window with Home Depot or Lowe's or Budget Building Center, wherever I'm gonna get material from, open over here so I could actually look at the material I wanna use. And then I'd use those exact sizes. I don't wanna be too specific with this. I wanna give you guys a general idea so I'm not too worried. I said 5/16, you're absolutely right. Thank you, David. I meant 5/8 is what was in my mind. And then that's not the words that came out. So let's go add another 5/16 to that. And we can select that component now it's created, and we can come over here and change the name to 5/8. All right, so there is one sheet of my 4x8, 5/8 inch OSB. Sometimes the mouth starts and the brain just sits back and watches and sees what's gonna happen. That's what happened right there.
How often does that happen to you?
More often than I'd like to admit. So right here, so what I did, I don't know if you guys caught that either, but I did push pull down. So if I look at this directly from the side, there's my red axes. You can see here's the bottom of my building going up, and here's my OSB framing down. So this 0 height is gonna be the bottom of my framed wall materials. All right, so I need...
Since you're doing some some report generation later, or what are you doing with the definition names there? I see you got there in entity info, the definition names already in the component.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to be conscious to make a consistent and accurate naming convention as I create these components. You guys know I try to make sure I name it because I had a bad habit of I have a lot of bad habits, so hopefully you guys are steering clear thanks to my general bad habits, but I always had a bad habit of just using component, and then when you're done you have component 1 through 78 in your model. So I'm trying to put names in there. What I'm finding is that unless I'm very conscious and intentional about it, my naming conventions change one thing to another. So I'm gonna try to make sure I name these in ways that make sense. That's right, if if Tadros gets a hold of my model, then I'm gonna hear about it. He's gonna get bleeped out a lot as he talks about the model that I did. All right, so I'm gonna drag a copy of this over right next to it itself. And here's something else I'm gonna try to keep in mind as I go through and make this model. And that is my layering system. Layers is something that I can use several different ways. I can think of a couple different ways I could do this. My inclination would be to, since it's so small, if I was building a framing model of an entire building, I would probably have a separate layer for, first floor wall, first floor roof, first floor floor framing, doors on one layer, windows on another. So I'd have 5 or 6 layers per story of the building. Since I only have one here, I think that I'll probably create my layers based on the functionality of that material. That way it'll be a little bit easier for me to go and pull reports. I can actually just click a layer to turn my materials on and off, and I can select it and report on it. So I'm going to put these two pieces onto a layer that I'm going to call sheathing. All right, having said that, now I'm going to frame a little floor. This is going to be it doesn't have to be very much. This is only 8 feet across. So I'm just going to make a little, basically a 2x4 framed square that will be my, my framing here. This one will actually end up, of course, the framing will be down here underneath that floor. But I have a hard time modeling underneath because I end up doing things like cricking my head like this or flipping upside down like this and having to think what that's going to be like underneath. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to actually build the frame here on top of my sheathing, and then when it's done, I'll just grab all the pieces and drop it below the sheathing. So because of the direction of my floor framing, my joists are going to run this direction. Like I said, I'm calling them joists, but they're just 2x4, treated 2x4 material. They'll be sitting on, I don't know, concrete or blocks of some sort. So they don't not really structural or anything like that. That's the other thing, I should point this out too. I am not going to go into member design. So we're gonna throw some materials on here and we're gonna assume everything works okay. If you guys have a really strong feeling that a different size material needs to be used, feel free to throw that out. But I can't say for sure I'm gonna be too hung up on what the proper span of a specific member size in the given usage is supposed to be. So that's that. I know David's saying it should, see there, it's like I knew it was coming, should be a 2x8. Yes, if it was spanning full 8 feet and I had residential load on there, you're probably right. But yeah, I'll just put it 2 inches on center, it'll be good. Anyhow, getting away from all those facts and knowledge and stuff, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna start framing. So one of the things I want to be able to do when I'm done, like I said, is get a material list. And that material list should include the number of a given material and the lengths that I need for each. So I'm going to come in here and start by creating a piece of material. And this is just going to be a 2x4. Or I'll split the difference with you, David, and I'll make the floor a 2x6. How's that? We'll go right in between. So I'm going to start by making a 2x6, just a block. So I'm going to start by going up 5.5 because in America, when we say something is 2x6, we actually mean it's 1.5 inches by 5.5 inches. Which means I'm going to come this way, 1.5. That wasn't a shot at America. It's a shot at this nominal material size that, I don't know, it's a thing. Anyhow, so.
Good way to get this stream to be a little more viral, to get a few shots. So.
That's right.
By the way, Aaron, we do have Dave Richards' model, so we could check your work later. And
Oh, great.
Really compare
What-
quality.
What not to do.
Good projects.
All right. So I did just double check, 1.5 inches, 5.5 inches. So all I've created at this point is a rectangle. I'm going to take it right now and I'm going to push pull it 12 inches. So right now, all I've done is I have created this basically 1 foot 2x5, 2x6. I'm in my own head now. I'm gonna make this into a component, and I'm gonna call this a treated 2x6. I'm not gonna call out a specific material, and I'm not gonna call out a specific length. And I'll show you why I'm doing that. I am calling it out treated because this will be on the ground. This will be touching soil or concrete. So I do want to make sure I do that rather than a standard material. All right, right now, that's all I'm going to put in here. And I'm going to hit create. There are probably, I can think off the top of my head, 5 or 6 different ways that I could organize components for a material list using generate component. And that's not even including things like cut list or quantifier or estimator or all the other extensions that I could use to generate this material list. I originally actually wanted to use one of those, but I didn't have the time this week to get them installed and learn them. So that was actually why I can't I can't do that. All right, that's done. Now, if I was to run a list right now, what I would see is this. I currently have a single treated 2x6 and 2 sheets of OSB. That's good, but that's not really a good set of information to have for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click into this piece right here. One of the things we can report upon when we pull up generate report is the X, Y, or Z length. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reorient my axes on this so that the blue axis faces up. So I'm going to do that. So now I know when I report upon the blue axes for this given material, it's going to tell me what the actual length of this piece is inside of SketchUp. So let's do that real quick. We'll constantly run generate report just to check to make sure what I'm saying is not a total lie.
So you're basically using the z-axis, the blue axis, as your length for any of the materials that you want to report out on.
That's right. So rather than having to have every single component, every single cut length be a different component, which would mean I'd be constantly saying make unique, change, this way, and again, that's one way to do it. But I thought this would be kind of fun to try this and see what happens. I don't know if this is going to work. All right, so I'm going to say I'm creating a brand new report. All I did was go up to File, Generate Report, and I said create a new template. I'm going to say I only want to report upon the current selection, so only what's highlighted. That's going to give me control over the reports I create. And what I want to do is I want to put the definition name, and then I want to put my Z length. And I should probably put a quantity in there too. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. And I'm going to call this my live shed report. Sounds like something you'd see on the news. And I'm going to save it and run it. Right now it shows up with nothing because I didn't select anything. So if I come in here, select this piece, go back generate report, grab my live shed report and run it, it tells me I have one 2x6 at 1 foot long. So far so good. All right, so if we take this right now and I grab scale and I pull that to here, and now I go File, Generate Report, run it, it tells me I have one 8 foot 2x6. So far so good. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to close that, and I'm going to finish out framing this floor. So I'm going to grab this, this piece by the corner, hit Option to copy, and put another piece down here on the end. So these are going to act as my rim boards. These are my end pieces. So I want to take one now and rotate it so it runs the direction of the joists. So I'm just going to grab this one right here. I'm going to go to Rotate, and I'm going to Option Rotate this 90 degrees. Boom, snaps into place. And of course this end is too long now. So I'm gonna select it, hit scale again, grab it by the middle handle, because I don't want to deform the shape at all. I just want to change that Z length, and I'll snap it back to the face of that board. All right, now I'll take it, grab it by the corner, option copy again, and I'm gonna offset it 16 inches. And I'm gonna say do that X 8 times. All right, 8 was a little long, so I could actually type X6. I hit erase, so I left the command. I can't do that now. It's too late. Now I have to erase them.
So this is pretty, I mean, we're kind of doing like a SketchUp experiment here in some ways.
That's what Friday always is, Mark.
I mean, you brought the wild card yourself. I gotta say, people were in for a treat here. I'm in for a treat. Now, one thing to call out, I think, is that you have to use scale. Like right now, you're essentially saying, I have one component that's a 2x6, and I'm scaling the component on the outside of the component, not the inside. So
Correct.
You're not creating separate components. No, you've had 0 make unique so far.
Right, that's right, because if I was to come in here and actually enter and push-pull this, every one is gonna change. And I don't wanna do that. All I wanna do is deform the container, so I'm actually not stretching the geometry. I'm taking the container, I'm taking the component and saying, make it longer.
Yeah.
Because I'm dealing with a rectangular extruded shape like this, that shape directly lines up.
This is some secret component magic. Can we sanity test your report now? Because
Yes.
I got a hypothesis about your report breaking right now.
Excellent. Let's do that. All right, so I'm gonna grab this one and I'm gonna slide it right back in. My end joist was a little off there, which is fine. This 16 inches on center would put that last joist one member outside. So I'm gonna take it now. I'm going to turn off sheathing, and I'm gonna grab all these members and I'll put them on a layer called framing. And with them all highlighted, we're gonna see what happens if we run the report. So with this, we got a total of 9 treated 2x6s, 7 of which are 7'9", and 2 of which are 8 foot.
Okay, so I got a question here.
All right.
What happens if you change the group by to the length? If you group by length Z?
Let's do that. Let's go back and edit
This
this.
is my hypothesis.
And I'm gonna grab length Z. Actually, I want to leave both. Well, for future, I want to leave both. Boom. Even better.
Right?
Good call.
I mean, I haven't seen it because I'm watching you on the live stream.
Oh.
I'm assuming that
Wait
was a
for
great
it.
idea. Yeah,
Wait
so
for
now,
it.
So
Yay!
now yeah, it's awesome. So I think you have the definition name, and you have the length of the cut, and you have the quantity. I think that looks pretty good.
I think this is gonna be a good report.
Aren't you glad I showed up today?
I'm so glad.
But by the way,
I should say, we can wait till the end to really thank Mark, but
No.
it is kind of nice to have somebody in here, isn't it? Like, rather than just having me sit here, you guys appreciate, you know you do.
What you should really thank me for is, well, actually, I have to say, I'm reading the comments, and there are lots of people on this comment thread who know way more than either of us about actually
absolutely.
building and making one of these sheds. So I just want to acknowledge that there's lots of input about the things you would actually do if you were building this right now that would be very worthwhile, but might slow us down by a lot. So just acknowledging that probably things are a little
For
bit,
certain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually, I see, Dave Richards is a good friend. I love him, and he's a great sketcher. He has a lot of knowledge, but I sweat a little bit when he shows up on a live stream and I'm doing something made out of wood. I'll be honest. Like, I feel a little better about modeling, Slinky Dog with Dave watching than I feel like modeling a shed.
We also have Nathaniel Wilkerson, who is essentially making his own.
Oh, I didn't even
software
see you
for-
there. Hey, Nathaniel, how you
yeah.
doing? Yes, I did not use Medique, but yeah, that's a good thing. And Martin Reef, we're not even going to start a pocket hole preference here. Probably not. To be honest, with something like this, I could go to a hardware store and get some hangers or something like that. I would probably not even worry about it too much, because I would probably just end nail or end screw this. And then when I put the OSB on the outside and then screw the walls down, it's gonna be a pretty solid piece. So that's just my thought. Of course, it depends, jurisdiction, requirements, that kind of stuff. In the land of Aaron, everything holds together with just a couple screws. All right, so I have all of these joists. I'm just gonna grab them and I'm gonna drop them to below deck. And our first floor, our shed basement, is complete. All right, so I'm gonna save that because that's something I do without question. All right, done. Next step. Next thing we need to do. Hey, that's somebody's just throwing out some ideas here. One of the things I was going to ask Mark to do is if people have ideas for things we could model in future threads, go ahead and throw that out. Mark will write them down or take note of them, and we'll add them to our ongoing list. So we do have, I think, we have a couple more live streams already scheduled. I think the next 3 of them, and I'll fill you in on what's next later on. I'm gonna make you stick around and find out what we're doing next. But most of these things that we end up filming, we do this because they're ideas from you. So like I said, a shed, I think we had a question or two, 1 or 2 early on, people who asked for a shed, but we try to do stuff that aligns with your requests. 2 comments. David Conley said his screws are missing. I say that is a missed opportunity to make a screws loose joke, but you do your thing, Dave. And Christopher Morin asks about the spacing to use on floor joists. Again, that goes into member design, that sort of thing. Not going to get too heavy into that this time, but there are plenty of span charts out there where you can see for the kind of load you're putting on here what spacing you should put in. I put 16 because it's a standard, fairly standard for something like this. If I was going half this, if I was just doing a 4x8 shed, I probably would put them at 24 because there's just not that much floor and it's not holding up a whole lot of load either. All right, next thing to do is the walls. So my thought, there's a couple ways to do this. Actually, there's more than a couple ways. There's several ways to do this. My thought on the walls would be to take this end wall and build it with this gable shape on it. And then these, because this is so small, these would just be a couple rafters sitting on a center beam, something like that. Pretty simple frame. So I would probably do that as opposed to making it square and then having to frame something tiny to fit right in this little space. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to create a new shape on top. Again, this is our locked group, so I can't actually draw in here. So I'm going to start this corner right here. I'm going to take it up to where, right here, go up to here, go to here. All right. So that rectangle, or that shape now, is what I'm going to use as my shed face. I don't know that I actually need this face, but this is my shape that I'm gonna do there. So I'm going to frame this now with some more 2x4s. So one of the things that I was playing with a shed, something like a shed, you could actually build this pretty easy out of 2x3 material or smaller material. I thought maybe we'll just go ahead and put this all in as a 2x4, acting like that was the easiest thing that we had access to, whatever. And then maybe what if we wanted to come back and frame the whole thing out 2x3? What would that do to things like our pricing or material list or anything like that? So,
or our comment stream.
Or our comments that blow some minds. So I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to start with a 2x4. So I'm going to come down here on the edge and I'm going to draw a rectangle. And that rectangle is going to be, come on, man. Come on, me. Let's get it together. There we go. Is going to be 3.5 by, whoops. I could put 3.5, comma, 1.5. All right. And I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Actually, I'm not, because I don't want it to join with that other geometry. I'm just going to select this piece right now, make it a component, And I'm going to call this is just my 2x4 plate. Whoops, or an 8x4. Why
and
not?
before you click enter there, you can set the component axes.
I could. Look at that. One less step. All right, so in this case, I forget which way I made red. I think I went red this way. I don't know.
Might be
With the brush.
actually, I mean, it's almost smart to do it at this point, but maybe easier to do when you have geometry too. So
That's true.
just making some real-time observations.
It's nice. That's why the button's there. Somebody thought of that. I'm going to create it. And I'm going to go into the main one first and give myself a little bit of, this is where I did this before, offset that 12 inches to make it a 2x4. All right, so now I could do a couple things. I could temporarily, for right now, I'm just going to frame the outside. So I'm going to take this one all the way down to the end. I know I'm going to have a door in there. I know this is going to get cut. But for right now, I'm just going to pull it all the way down. All right. My inkling now would be to grab this and bring it to here. Oh, see, now I'm fighting with how I want to actually frame this thing. Because making this nice, simple, rectangular piece means I use the same studs all the way across. It's going to be the same stud length for everything. And this little guy right up here is only 1.5 feet tall. So I was thinking about building this as a, like, you know, a gabled wall basically, and having this come up, but I think I won't do that. Actually, after I did this, it's going to be such a small space in here that if I drop a vertical member here and maybe one more here or something like that, a piece of blocking, I should have plenty of space for my sheathing to go on. I'm going to do it. I'm just gonna. All right, so I'm arguing with myself, yeah, so. Now, I know, you know, people ask, so like I said, I used to do building design, and I used to teach people how to use proprietary software to frame walls. And that was a treat, because as many people as there are on the earth, there are different ways to frame a wall. And every one of them's right, and everyone else's is wrong. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of funny, because I'm already thinking of 5 or 6 ways that we could do this, and I'm just going to stop thinking and talking and just make it happen. I'm just going to do it. I'm probably going to overframe this for a shed. I'm just throwing that out there now. I could probably scale some of this back and not have to put quite so much material in, knowing that it's a temporary structure, but I'm going to frame it in the style I would a real house, a full-size house. Because that's, like I said, this was kind of in lieu of a full-size model. So I'm going to go with that thought and say, okay, if I was actually framing these corners, how would I frame them? Knowing that if you were actually framing for a shed, you could probably dial some of this back and save some of this material. Speaking of which, one of the things I will do is double my top plate. So I'm going to grab this one, make a copy straight down like that. And I'm going to take, well, I'll come back to that in a minute. Now what I want to do is I want to put my vertical stud, my stud material going up. These pieces are plate material. If I look over here, they are plate. So I'm going to come right in here, and I'm going to make another 3.5 comma 1.5, and I'm going to push that up 12 inches, and I'm going to make my first stud. So make component, and I'm just going to call that 2x4 stud.
So is this actually a different 2x4 than the other component you already made?
Again, in the spirit of building the way you build in a wall, stud material is actually different material than what you'd use in a plate. A lot of that comes down to, which we're totally defying that, having this shorter wall height, but a lot of times you'll build walls full height and have pre-cut studs already framing in there, whereas your plates would come in maybe 16-foot lengths or something like that.
So same dimensional profile, different real world thing.
Exactly.
Hence different component.
Made from a different kind of wood, and yeah, probably coming in different lengths for different prices.
I'm just saying you could have done make unique at that point.
So very well could have.
And this is also a point at which in the model, those two things look exactly the same. I guess they could be, but materials were gonna be awesome at some point in this model.
Yes, we could. So I was talking. Oh, what is?
Oh, Dave's
Uh-oh.
got a good point. Gluing properties for that stud.
Possibly. I just goofed that up because cut opening was turned on. I currently have this up against the flat of a face, so I was kind of getting confused why I did that. I didn't realize that was turned on. Turn that off and set my component axes. It's not even gonna let me do that. There we go. Now I can set my component axes and call that 2x4 stud. So yes, it would be possible to play with gluing too, so it drops in automatically. But I didn't mess with that in this particular one. Doesn't mean we can't do it in the future. I just didn't do it now. All right, I'm gonna take this one, use scale again, pull this up to the bottom here. I'm gonna grab a copy of it, option copy, over to the end of my wall. And I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna draw a line across here. And then I'm gonna get rid of that geometry that I had there. Whoops. There we go. So that's what we got so far. All right, like I said, this is not, it's probably not gonna have insulation in it. It's not gonna be holding up a second floor or anything like that. So my inkling would be to place these studs at 24 inch on center. So I might grab the first one, option copy, 24x3. There we go. That looks pretty good. Right now, we have a framed wall. So let's see what happens, just for fun, if I come in here and just grab my wall material and run that report. We're gonna run that report ragged by the time this is over. That's my plan. Run it. Man, good thing. Look, thanks to Mark sorting this out. Nice. All right. Let's keep moving. All right, next thing I want to put in here. Jimmy's pointing out that these will not be pre-cut studs because they are an odd length. Because it's, I mean, what was this? 6 foot 8.5. So I wouldn't be able to use pre-cut studs for this length. I could buy pre-cut shorter studs, but then I'd still have to go cut them. So that's something else to weigh in. You know, when you're looking at material, what's going to be the best way to get the most out of this while I'm keeping it at the head height I need. So if I had a smaller set of material, if I wanted to use 6 inch or 6 foot studs and have a smaller door, I could do that. I wanted a full height door. That's a requirement of my shed. I'm not going to duck for a shed. Just saying. All right, moving on. So let's get our door in here. So I'm gonna just, to keep it simple, I'm gonna trace this door. I'm gonna select it by the middle, and I'm gonna put it in the middle of our bottom plate. Right there. That's where our opening's gonna go. So again, this is where, now I'm gonna have to come in and frame this opening. I can't just cut the hole in the wall. I'm gonna have to put something around this opening. So what I'll do is I'll grab this stud right here, and I'm gonna make a copy of it right here, right here, make a copy of that right there. Now I need to put a header in here. I gotta put something to support this opening. Again, this is a spot where we have a 3 foot span. This is not gonna hold a whole lot of load. It's gonna hold like a little teeny bit of roof right here. If you felt compelled, you could frame this as a full structural header. How much space do I have in here? 7 inches, so I could put like a multiple ply 2x6 up there if I wanted to. I'm just gonna use 2x4 for this. And I'm just gonna use plate grade. I'm gonna use the same materials I'm using for my plate right now. I'm going to grab this one, Option copy, bring it up, and I'm going to plop it right here. Now I'm going to go like this, rotate it 90 degrees so it's flat, and I'm going to scale it temporarily back to here. Now I could actually grab this guy right here and scale him up to get him out of the way. Let's see. So even though I can't see the middle handle right here, I can hover over it, grab it, and I'll pull that up to the top of this 2x4 right here. So I'll get a cut list for that little, what is that, 3.5 by 3.5 inch member. It'll still show up on our list. All right, so we're getting there. This is okay. I'm gonna double this header. So I'm gonna grab that piece right there, Option copy, and make a second one right there. I think that 2x4 for 3 foot should be strong enough to hold up the weight of that door opening. I'm not too worried about that. What I do want to do, and again, this could be overkill. I could probably end screw these in and that would be strong enough, but in the spirit of framing this like I would a house, I'm going to grab both of these pieces, use scale to drop them down below my header. Then I'll grab both of these, use scale to pull that out to here, pull that out to here, and then grab a full height member here, throw that right there, and another copy right there. All right, so with that, that is close to our fully framed front wall for that for our shed. Like I said, this is probably excessive. I could get away with a lot less. In fact, if you ever go to one of the big box stores, Home Depot, Lowe's, something like that, you know those sheds out in the garage? If you ever go in there, you can see that there is very little actual lumber holding anything together. I think they rely a lot on the idea of the entire component, the whole thing being a component that works together. So the sheathing gets tied to the 2x3s, which get tied to the sheathing and the 2x3, and it's all together. It's a solid piece. In and of itself, any of those given pieces is probably a little floppy. So anyhow, yeah. So this may be over-designed. I'm aware. You guys don't have to get on me too much for that. All right. Speaking of designing up, let's also grab this end stud right here, and I'm going to go ahead and copy it and put it flat like that. That's going to give me something to screw this other wall as it comes into that flat space. Something you guys have noticed, if you have a lot of experience with framing walls, this sort of thing, you notice that I'm not going through and giving these different names yet. That's something you could do. It's such a small project that I wouldn't worry about it too much, but one of the things I could actually do is I could come in here and go grab this one, for example, and give it an instance name. I could call this my corner stud. And each piece then is corner stud. I could go in and report upon it and get a cut list that actually shows what each piece is supposed to be used for, in addition to just how long it is. It's such a simple structure. I mean, this is the most complex. Oh, no, I guess the window will be slightly more work. But this is one of the more complex walls in the entire thing, and it's pretty simple. So.
But I mean, it's a good way to check yourself before you wreck yourself at the end of it.
Sure.
Because you would want to, if you were using instance names, then in your report you could include the instance name and know that you had 4 corner studs or however many of those you actually need, right?
Exactly. So it's not a bad thing to do. Absolutely. Yeah, we could actually, we'll do it because it's also a good opportunity to show you how we can create multiple reports in a single job. So I might be able to do a report that says, show me my function versus show me what materials everything's made of. So we'll do it. We'll go out to these outside studs right here. All right, I'm going to give a disclaimer. You guys will probably, in your experience of building, have different names for some of these pieces than what I throw in there. I accept that. I ask you do the same. I've had full-blown arguments break out in class because people disagreed on what was a jack stud in a wall. So we're not going to go there. So I'm just going to call this one an end stud. So I'm adding an instance name. An instance name is different from the definition name. So the definition is all these components together are called 2x4 studs. The instance name says, what is this one specific piece called where it is used in this model? So these two are going to be end studs. These two right here, I'm going to call corner studs. Oh, I guess I should just call it corner stud, since it is in and of itself its own unique thing. These three pieces right here, I'm just going to call stud, because those are the on-center ones. These two pieces up here, I'm going to call header. I'm going to call these two right here king stud, and I'll call these two right here jack stud. All right, and I'll go a little bit further even, and I'm going to call this one a bottom plate, and these two right here I will call top plate. Whew. Look at that, all that information, so much data. We're really doing the BIM thing, guys. Don't quote me on that one. All right, so I'm gonna do some grouping real quick. I'm gonna grab all of my floor. In fact, I'll grab all of my floor. I'm gonna grab my framing and my sheathing, and I'm gonna make that into a new group. This is just for selection purposes. I can still turn off my framing and my sheathing inside that group. So even though it's grouped, it doesn't change that information. I'm not assigning that group to a separate layer. It's just gonna make it a little easier to report upon and pull data out of those pieces. So now I'll grab all of this. Turn off my little gable drawing. And all of these pieces are going to go to framing. And then once that's done, I will make a new group here. All right, so let's do this. Let's go in here, select all of my studs. I will go to generate report, and we're just gonna run it. Ooh, look at that. So we got two reports for plates, 8 foot and 3 foot, wait. All right, well that's something we're gonna have to look at. Why two of my plates say they're only 3'3"? We'll look at that. The rest looks right. There's my 3.5 inch stud. Then I have two of them. Those are my jack studs. It's 6'1.5". The rest of them all are 6'8.5". For some reason, my top plates, I'm assuming, since there's two of them. Oh no, those are my headers. Everything's cool, guys. Everything's cool.
That's why you need the instance name.
Right. So now we
So that you
could
have some clue of which 2x4, you know.
That's right. So we'll throw entity description in here too. Run that same report again. Oops, going back. I did the wrong one. Not entity description, but entity name. There we go. So we're not segregating by it there. We're not actually separating our output by it. I just said include the information.
Yeah.
So this just says these two are two headers. This is a bottom plate and two top plates. These are studs, jacks. This is a mix of corner stud, end stud, king studs, and standard studs. That might, again, how you do your thing, I'm not gonna tell you, but that might be good enough for what I need to print out. So if I'm just going and cutting, I could go cut it, label these or whatever, and then I know when I go to put together my wall, I have all my pieces. This isn't necessarily telling me where they go yet. I could also go back here and I could move entity name up here under group by, and then when I run the report now, it's gonna tell me, all right, you have a 2x4 plate that's 3.5 that is a header, and there's two of those. So even though these materials from here down are all, for all intents and purposes, the exact same, because they'll be used differently, they're separated out. So
I think this report is getting more awesome, personally.
Mark's a spreadsheet kind of guy. He likes to see all that data. That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
Aaron thought everyone's brain would explode if we exported this report into Layout, which is another SketchUp software application. So we're not going to do that right now.
We'll see what happens. We'll
but-
see where the day ends. Not saying no, but I'm not saying yes.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the living roof is still on the table. Although I'm not sure what's going to happen to that dirt with the roof structure you have right now.
That's right. Absolutely.
It's like a sagging roof.
Awesome. Nathaniel Wilkerson's backing me up on designing properly and not over-designing, and I agree. I have the same feeling about those big box sheds. I think that they're one strong windstorm away from collapsing. That's, Lorelei just said, I
Yeah.
should have copied that wall before I put the door in, and you are so correct.
That gets a good point from the
Yeah.
moderator here. Good
Nice work. You called it. Nathaniel Wilkerson also says, this is BIM. And if you guys have heard my podcast, you know I have some thoughts on BIM. I won't go into them now, but I agree.
This is Sparta.
Well, as soon as you can tell me, as soon as we can come up with a mutually, like a worldwide agreement on what BIM is, then I will say whether or not we're BIMing. Until then, everything's BIMing and nothing is BIMing. That's what I got. All right, I'm gonna grab this wall by the corner and I'm gonna slap it right here and use rotate to, whoops.
Oh, Dave's got your back here too. We just have a door on each side.
Just progressive design. That's right. Whatever. All right, so this is too much, obviously. And this is just a group. This is not a component, so I can make whatever change I want in here. I know that I can get rid of this stud right here. I can get rid of all of this framing right here. Get rid of all this framing right here and this piece right here. That maintains my 24 inches on center. I could take this guy and use scale to pull him back down to full length. I can grab this guy right here and I can slide him in. This end stud's not going to come to the end of the wall, but we'll probably do the same thing here where the other end wall will go full length. So I need to bring that in another 3.5 inches. Then I can grab my tops and bottom stud, scale that. Whoops, grab the wrong handle. Scale that back to the face like that. That's pretty good.
So
And
we have
then-
another comment here, which I think is a good point too. If you're going to put a window in one of these walls, wouldn't you want to maintain part of that header to move it around for the window? Oh man,
See,
look
this
at
is
that
why-
face.
Come on, man. Oh, yes. Good point. All right, so just to throw something out real quick, and this is one of those things where, well, let me address that specific point first. That is a great point. I'm going to take this wall right here, and I'm going to move it, click, to the other side, where there is no window. Meant to do that all along. No, that is honestly, that's a great point. That is, I don't need that piece over there. So right now, here's something to think about. So these studs are in here at 24 inches on center to hold up whatever's above them, for sure. But they're also there at 24 inches on center so I can put a piece of sheathing on and screw it down or nail it down. The 24 inches on center means that I should have a stud. If I have a 8-foot piece of or a 4-foot piece of sheathing, I should have a stud at the end of either of those 4 feet. So right now, let's just say I was to come this way, 4 foot, and then bring that 4 foot straight up to here. This is less than a full piece of sheathing, so that is very good. All right, so that is temporarily my sheathing piece. See, the issue we have right now, and this is where SketchUp excels. This is why I love using SketchUp, is it's so easy to visualize this kind of stuff. So the problem we run into is that our on-center spacing is nowhere near this stud. To have this sheathing break over a stud, I'd have to break it right here in the center of this one, use a full sheet here, and then use a partial sheath the rest of the way. So I'd end up having to like split my sheathing and use it on either side. That's what we call dumb in the industry.
Say dumb. Dumb is the word.
D-U-M, dumb. All right, so what I'm gonna do instead is grab these 3 middle studs, and I'm gonna slide them over. I'm gonna grab them by the midpoint and bring them to right here. That's gonna give me, so I have to come out to the end of here. That gives me 4 foot this direction, 4 foot this direction. I'm good again. Oop. I can get rid of this. Oh, now I have all these lines on top of my groups. Oh, loose geometry. If only there was an extension that would just clean it up with one click. There is. I could have run cleanup. I know somebody out there is already thinking it. Anyhow. All right, so I hear you, a couple people have pointed out that I haven't adjusted my top plates for overlap. That's correct. I'm gonna come back and do that right at the very end. First, I'm just gonna get my walls in here. Question now is, this wall right here with the window, so this wall should, for the most part, be framed the exact same as this, but I have to put an opening in it. So what do? Which one's better? Do I grab this one and bring it over, or do I grab this one and then put the door in it, or the opening in it? I'm gonna say both. What I'm gonna do is make a copy of this group, bring it right here. Then I'm gonna hop into this group, grab the pieces I want. Remember, there's no information on these that make this necessarily connected in any way to this wall. They don't have like wall numbers or anything like that. So I can just grab all of them. I can hit Control C to copy it. Come over here. Command V to place it. And I can place it if I grab it right here by the middle of this guy and line that up right with the middle of that one. That should be pretty good. I can delete this one extra stud, and I have most of my window in at that point. That was pretty easy, huh? All right. Not quite there, of course. I do have to bring this down. So I said I wanted 3 by 4 was my window size. So that means I want to go, and again, I know rough opening size versus finish versus whatever. In case you guys didn't catch this, what I'm proposing is that I bought a window, reclaimed window or something like that, and the actual measurements was 3 foot by 4 foot. I'm sticking with round measurements because they're just easier for my brain to do. So what I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna grab this line right here, and I'm gonna move it from this intersection point, Option, drop it down 4 foot, Enter, and now I'm just gonna use Rotate on the green axes to roll that flat. And there's my bottom sill for my window. Obviously it's too big, it's running through the studs on either side. So I'm gonna select it, I'm gonna hit scale. And again, I can't see it, but if I'm careful, I can hover over the middle handle and scale that back, and scale that back. All right, it's looking better and better every time I look at it. All right, so now I need probably something to hold up the bottom of the sill, and I gotta maintain this on-center spacing, so I'm gonna wanna copy this stud down. So I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna select this one, Option, oops, Option, and I'm gonna constrain to blue axes and drop it to the bottom of the sill, scale, and bring that straight down to here, and then make a copy, Option, copy here, and click Option, copy to here. And with that, our window is framed. Pretty easy. That was not too bad. Probably a good time to save. Where were you on that one, Ian? I had to remind myself to save that time. All right. To do this back wall, we could copy this one around, adjust it, but I think what's going to be the easiest thing to do here is to grab this one right here. I'm going to grab it by the middle seam and just rotate it around to the other side. It's a square, so front to back, side to side is the same dimension, so I can actually use rotate to copy it around. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to temporarily unlock my shed, my reference massing. I'm gonna put it on my ref layer. I can relock it then, and I can turn that off so I can get back here. All right, I'm gonna do a little bit more cleanup, and then I'm gonna come back to comments because I know there's a lot in here.
Yeah, I mean, in the comments right now, I gotta say, there's some shed horror stories.
Oof.
Not to make light of any of it, but some terrible luck with weather and wind. The H word, I saw a hurricane took someone's shed down. So very sorry if this live stream is bringing up any.
I hope I'm not upsetting anybody.
Any, traumatic memories. But seriously, let us know if the shed's just going down.
Sorry, this is not supposed to be a bad thing. This is if anybody's flashing back and you want to step away, I won't take offense. So it's a triggering episode. Sorry, guys. All right, so going back to what I was saying earlier about the purpose of the on-center spacing, I took this first stud and offset it 2 foot and just kind of created an array. The issue there is that was 2 foot from the corner, the edge of the stud, to the next stud. Or maybe I came this way. I can't remember which one I started with. There we go. We're 2 foot edge to edge. That's okay, except when I come to this next stud, the one in the middle, you can see that 4 foot falls right on the edge. That means if I grab a full piece of sheathing, go from the edge to right here, it's gonna fall right there. So I'm not gonna be able to actually, which somebody could very easily make the argument that who cares because it's really not doing much with that 3 inches there anyhow. But we're gonna do this the right way. That means I have to take these 3 studs, I want to offset them. So here, I'm gonna come over here, 4 inches and draw a line straight down. I want these 3 pieces, which should be evenly spaced. Yep, 2 foot from one to the next, 2 foot. I'm gonna take them and I'm gonna move them so the middle of the middle stud lines up with where my sheathing will be. Again, this is the awesome SketchUp thing, is it's so easy to verify that kind of thing and make sure that's gonna work. So yeah, I know Nathaniel did the math. He said you could just offset them 3/4 of an inch, but you guys know how I feel about math. If I have a way to shortcut it and don't have to do math, then I do that. I know half of a 2x4 is 3/4 of an inch, but I stand by my method. In fact, it's even easier than that. I don't have to put a reference line in at all. This is 8 feet exactly, so if I grab all my on-center spacing studs, I grab them by the middle, I can actually just line them up with the center of that piece, which, look in the lower right corner, or actually that would be that way for you guys, it is 3/4 of an inch off. You know, Christopher's talking about camping in a tornado warning. One of my early memories of camping was we had family who lived in Minnesota, Stillwater, if you guys have ever heard of it. And they lived on a lake, and I think it was a family reunion or something like that. A whole bunch of people came into town, so our family had tents, so we brought tents. We just camped out on the beach, which was really nice, except there was a huge windstorm that night, and it actually took and hurled a canoe across both of our tents. It was... I feel for you, Christopher. I got triggered a little bit there too. It's a bad way. It's, and who goes to Minnesota and camps and has to worry about canoes flying through the air? I mean, yeah, in Colorado we got bears. Yeah, I get that, but canoes? Come on, Minnesota. Stillwater is great. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful spot. They just have horrible weather with the canoes flying through and stuff like that.
We need like a support group following this session.
That's right. We're tougher. We got out of it and tougher than we were before. My brother did get hit in the head with a canoe, but my head's fine, more or less. All right. So I'm going to make sure I did get all these right. Make sure all of my stuff is in here. It's all on the framing layer. All right, so here's the thing. So let's say I wanted to do a framing report real quick, just my wall framing. If I was to grab it right now, File, Generate Report, and say Run, we get everything, but we get too much. All right, so right now, here's all of our plates. Our plates came on the list first. It did come through with our studs, and we got these 4 things that are just called groups. And we're reporting Z length, so it is telling us our groups are 7'1". Those are, obviously, these outer layer groups for each of our walls. That's not a bad thing. It's not bad to have those. There's reasons I may want to report upon it. Again, this is a pretty simple version of a framed house, but if I had my full house, I may actually want to do a report where I put an instance name for each of those groups, wall 1, wall 2, wall 3, wall 4, and I could use Generate Report to report upon those wall names. That is a cool thing that it can do. But in this case, all I really want is the data on the inside and not the containers. Well, if I look at Generate Report, if I go edit my report right now, I'm telling it component nesting all. Tell me everything. So what I could do is I could actually turn it to level 2 and run my report. When I do that, it says take everything that's inside the selected, which is level 1, go 1 layer deeper and report just what's in there. And by doing that, I get all of my plates and studs without the container groups being highlighted at all. So something else to have in the back there, kind of something to think about. Something to point out too, as I'm doing this, each one of these that I'm doing, I'm actually just modifying the same report over and over again. So I haven't actually saved any of these as separate reports, but it would totally make sense as I'm doing this to go through and have a wall framing report versus a floor framing report versus a sheathing report versus a whatever. That would be something you could do. So again, I'm just throwing that in there. All right. I'm enjoying Christopher Moran's occasionally evolving story of his tornado camping experience about having to tie his tents down. It's okay, Christopher. He turned out okay. He was young at the time. His skull was fairly soft, and I don't think it made any permanent damage. So good to go.
Little do you know that Aaron doesn't have a brother. He has a dual personality now.
No, I totally remember him there. He was in the tent with me. All right, cool. So this is looking good. We're coming along. Let's go ahead and let's keep going. I'm just gonna keep moving. We're gonna go throw framing on top. All right. Here's where we can get oh no, wait, I was gonna do my plate laps first. All right, so I'm gonna collect. I'm gonna stop, rewind, and try again. I'm going to open the group. I'm going to turn my rest of model back on. I have a toggle shortcut key connected to hide rest of model for when I edit a component. I'm gonna grab this piece right here and scale it and just push it back to the inside of this plate. I'm gonna do that on both ends. Now I'm gonna click into this one. Actually, let's go shorten up both. I'm gonna go to my end wall, same thing, scale, pull that back, over here, pull that back. So one of the things that is coming up, professional wall panelizer framer type people will ask about my tolerance. I'm not putting any tolerance. You could, if you wanted to, pull this back by a 1/16 of an inch or a 32nd of an inch to allow for slop or swelling of wood, but it's my shed in my garden. I'm not that worried about it. I'm gonna grab this right here. And what I could do, I could have done this on the sides too, but I could grab it right here, hit Option, which says scale about the middle. That way when I pull this out 3.5 inches, it's actually gonna do that on both sides at once. Hashtag time saver. All right, grab this one, scale, Option, pull it out, boom. All right, so there, if I click on this, oops. there is my sidewall panel. Here's the other side with the window. Here is my back wall. And here is my front wall. So at this point, oop, there's an extra line. I knew there's a line there somewhere. All right, so this point, we do have the information in there to model or frame the walls here. Yeah, Richard's saying he's using push-pull instead. Push-pull's great. It is a double-edged sword. Let's touch on this right now. I'm using scale to scale this component. So this actual component is only a foot long, and I'm using scale to deform it. That only works for me because my report is keying in on that scaled length of the component. If each one of these pieces was an individual piece, that's where I'd want to double click to enter in and then use push-pull to change the length. This is kind of cool because that was actually what I was going to just key in on. If I double click on this, this is going to show all the pieces that are the same component. This is where people go, wait a minute, components are all supposed to be the same. That's true. But because I distorted the container they were in, this component is the same as this component, but that one's shorter because the container's distorted. So kind of cool. Same with my plates. If I click on this, I have all these different lengths, different usages, but they're all the same component.
So, this is another interesting moment from the stream, but this might be a place where color by layer can start to get useful. Because everything is the same component, you wouldn't, even if you wanted to put a material on it to tell the difference, that wouldn't work very well. You don't want to just put materials on the wrappers of the individual components, but using your layering, you could do some more sanity checking, along the lines of the report, and you could continue to save your model.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. A big piece of that, that's absolutely true. A big piece of that is how much layering do you want to do? Because I could come through here, I could layer by function, I could layer by panel, I could actually, so each one of these walls could be on its own layer. I could layer by, all the studs are on one layer. So there's a lot of options here how I could do that. And that's a good point. That would be a great way to do it, would be to segregate my framing types by layer and then color by layer. Someone asked, is scaling easier than using solid tools and erasing the overlaps? Again, using solid tools will change your actual core geometry. And that means if I was doing it that way, then this piece right here, this stud would be a whole different component from this stud right here, which again, depending what you're doing, that might be fine. In this case, me trying to keep it simple, if I look over here, not including Mark, I only have 4 components in this entire model right now. That's kind of cool. I like that. But again, this is one of those horses for courses moments. You do this however you see fit, like whatever you want to do. Speaking of one of those points, one of the things I did here when I did my front wall is I took one continuous plate and just laid it over the whole opening. This is something that you may or may not choose to do. Historically, what I would always have done when designing something like this is frame it with the plate going all the way through, assuming that once it got put up, squared, everything's good, come in with a Sawzall and cut this plate out. Some people might not want that. You might actually just want the little piece right here and the little piece right here. That's fine. If you wanted to do that, what you would want to do is take this piece, scale it back to here, and then make a copy of this one and put it over here. You would want to make 2 separate pieces. If you came into the one piece, if I was to come in here and I did something like this and, pull that out of there, all my other components just had that same thing happen. So that would be bad. I'm gonna leave it like this because if I was to actually go build this, I'd probably build this laying flat on something like my driveway or garage or something like that, somewhere where I could lay it totally flat, maybe even on this deck. It should fit since this is 8 foot. Build the wall laying flat, stand it up, nail or screw it down here and here, get it all square, and then cut this out. So your call. Oh, that is another point. Dave Richards pointed out that if you were to use solid tools to intersect, if stuff just ran past each other and used solid tools to intersect, when you do hit intersect, solid tools will change that component into a group. So you won't have that as a component anymore. If you're doing that, it's a right click, make new component. But yeah, I tried to do that. I tried to come up with a good workflow where I could use solid tools to go through and cut all my framing for me, and it never really worked out great. Like I never really got an awesome solution for that one. All right, moving on. Well, let's figure out how to do this roof real quick. So if I had access to a truss plant and Nathaniel Wilkerson's Medique software, I could actually just drop some trusses in here and order them. I'm gonna assume that that's not a thing that I can do. So I'm gonna look at a couple different ways I could actually come in and frame this. So assuming I'm gonna have to do some kind of rafter type framing, what I'll need to do is put up a member in the center that would hold rafters coming from both sides. I'm trying to think of the simplest way, like literally, like what is the dead easiest way to do this? I'm thinking, again, this is only 8 feet. I think I could probably put like a 2x8 across there. I think that would span okay. Might have to double it up. You guys tell me what you think. What would I have to use for a ridge board for this? I mean, this is only, whoops, excuse me, components. This is just over 2 feet, or just over 4 feet. So it's 4'2" of span. So it's actually only gonna have 2 foot, 2 foot. So 4 foot of roof is gonna be sitting on top of this. 8 foot span. So I'm gonna say that I wanna just put a single 2x8 right here as my ridge beam. No, I'm gonna do a double 2x6. Richard gave me a thumbs up on 2x8. We're going for it. So what I would do here, I'm gonna drop a line right down the middle, and I'm gonna draw half of a 2x8, or actually, well, yeah. Nope, I'll come over here, and I will just draw 7.25, comma 1.5, which is the actual size of a 2x8, because nominal stuff. All right, and I'm gonna put it right here. And that just centers it horizontally. Now I gotta raise it up to where I want the roof to be. So this is the bottom of my roof rafters. My roof rafters are gonna sit right here, probably with a clip or something on there. So I'm gonna take these 2 pieces right now. I'm gonna grab them by the corner and slide them straight up till it intersects that line. So that is where my roof rafter, or my ridge beam has to sit. So I'm gonna go ahead and just double click that. I'm gonna make that a new component, and I'm gonna call this is my 2x8, I'll just call it a beam. Oh, anybody else catch that? I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. I glued that 2 again. Fortunately, we can edit that. I say edit? Is that where? There we go. Edit. Oh, I can't.
Components browser.
I have the wrong thing selected. Select. I grab my OSB. Oh, there it is. There's my 2x8 beam. Edit. I want to turn cut opening off. All right. And now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get rid of this line in the middle. And same thing I did before. I'm just going to make it 12 inches long. So that's my initial size there. And now I can actually take it and scale it the full length of the building. Not just the full length, I'm actually, well, we'll come back to that. I actually, like I said, I want it to stick out a little bit on the front and back because I'm fancy. And I want to actually have it, you know, overhang a little bit on the front. Maybe just on the front. Yeah, I think we made it flat on the back. So I'm looking at my reference. Maybe this butts up against my fence or something like that. So I just want the overhang on the front. We'll do that also. Right now, we're going to throw some rafters. Well, actually, we're going to have to probably hold the ridge board up at some point. Maybe we'll do that now. I'm going to go in and grab a stud. This is just stud material, so I'm going to copy this stud, come out, and paste that stud right here. Slide that over. It's the same width. Scale that up. Something like, take that, make 2 copies of that, and then I'll scale those up to, let's see, I'll have to actually create an intersection line right here, so I have a snap point to scale that to. There we go. And this one will scale up to the same size. Now that'll hold it up. So a ridge board is a thing that is going to hold up the rafters. So my rafters are going to be sticks that are going to go, boards that are going to go from here down here. And I need to hold them up somehow. Dave Richards builds actual trusses for his, so he won on that one.
Yeah, this is where your model and Dave's model start to get.
They probably they probably come a little bit different now.
We'll show Dave's later.
Yeah, did that get posted?
It didn't get posted.
Okay.
It got emailed to me.
Okay.
I've been enjoying it personally.
All right. All right. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab one of these studs and copy it. And I'm going to come in here and paste this stud in, but I'm going to make it unique because it's no longer going to be a stud. It is now going to be a 2x4 rafter. And I'm going to call the instance rafter. Rafter. There we go. All right, and now I'm going to take it and I'm going to start by orienting it the correct direction. And I'm going to put it right here on the end. I'm going to take it from there, rotate it so it's on my, this is my 412 slope we had before. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Nathaniel just mentioned my heel height. Erase that now. And I didn't calculate my heel height because I knew I was just going to throw a 2x4 onto the edge right here. Sorry, trust nerd talk right there. So the nice thing about this, since I didn't, so I'm going to have to change lengths and that kind of thing. I didn't actually change the orientation. So if I hit scale right now, my handles show up same way they were before. See that? So I don't have to worry about them repositioning or anything like that. I can still distort them with my handles because if I come into this group, I can see my axes is still the direction. Even though I took it and turned it to some odd slope, the geometry is still orthogonal inside the group. All right, so I said I wanted a 6-inch overhang, so I'm gonna draw a line right here. I'm gonna call it 6 inches, and I'm gonna run it straight up. Whoops. Straight up till it hits this face right here. And with that, then I can come in here and I can draw a line perpendicular to the face. That's where I want this to end, so I can grab my scale tool again and pull it back to that surface. All right, now the top end. So here's the question, because this is going to be interesting, because I'm only going to have one rafter profile. It's going to be the exact same front to back, both sides flipped around. But what I would probably want to do is I would probably actually want to put a cut on it like that. Possibly a vertical cut on the other end too. Because if I don't do that, if I put a square cut on it like this, if I was to just grab this right here,
Gonna get funky.
yeah, pull this back to here, I would have a problem with my other rafter that's going to come up the other side, or, you know, wait, how is it? I'm trying to do this on your screen, like a weatherman. I could never be a weatherman. I take things too literally when I see them. All right, so this is going to come, it's going to go this way, and when it hits the end here, you know, we can't have those two square pieces, I have to offset and overlap, that kind of thing, which would be a pain. So I'm probably going to want to cut this odd, which, like I said, is okay, because if I come in here, I only have one of these rafters. There's literally only one of these in the entire model. So I can cut it like that, and it's going to be all right. I wouldn't want to do that with any other lumber that was repeating, because it would mess up everything else.
And the lens Z on that's still going to be
It's still this
what
long side,
the
right?
long side, yeah.
So it would be possible. You might want to do something like, I'm going to throw out lots of thoughts I'm having right now. If all I was looking for was a length, I just wanted, what material lengths do I need? You could leave it like this, and then when you went to mirror this, so if I was to grab this and mirror it over here for the rafter on the other side, you could leave it long like this, which would give you this full length, and then you would have to be in charge, make sure you know that you'd have to angle cut this at the end, that sort of thing. Not a big deal, but that would actually allow you to keep the same component. You would have to know that, okay, I actually do want to make sure that when I pull this back to here, pull this one back to here, and that would allow you to keep that same square cut component. So you would just have to know that you're going to cut that at some point.
But like you said, that is a different, I mean, it's different from the roof rafter, basically. I guess
Right.
You have to do a make unique, your first one.
Right, since this is the only one, that's what I was saying, I would just cut it like this and then know that that's the piece I'm actually going to use. Okay, so with that, I'm going to take these, option offset horizontally, 24. I should have to do that 4 times. And my last one, again, is going to be a little bit off. So I'm going to, actually what I should be doing, here's what I should do. I'm going to get rid of what I just did. My sheathing will start right down here, because this is the flat end, right? So I'm going to start my sheathing here. It's going to go this direction, so I'll grab these two. We'll take them, offset along the red axis, 24, X4. So something like that is actually kind of closer to what's going to actually happen. Yeah, and we have some things going on up here that we'll come back to in a second. All right, so that should work pretty well. I'm looking at, this is enough space here to get sheathing onto. That'll look pretty good. Yeah, I'm feeling okay. So I did not bird's mouth these 2x4s. So a bird's mouth cut is where I would come into this. I'll just do this. Where I would come in and do something like this. Somebody's calling this out. Or I would do something like, now I can't get, I'm off. Let me draw a reference line because I'm going into axes on here. I would do something like this. I would put a cut onto these rafters like this, and then they would actually sit straight down onto the wall. It is pretty commonly done with larger material. The reason I was saying I probably wouldn't do it with this is it's only a 2x4, so I don't have a whole lot of material to cut out there. And again, dozen ways to skin a cat. I would probably rely on hurricane clips on the top of the wall at whatever, 70 cents each. I would rather spend, you know, $15 in hurricane clips and just clip those onto the top of the wall rather than having to bird's mouth or bump up to a 2x6 and have to have enough space to bird's mouth it. Your call. Again, so many different ways to build things. It's cool. It's fun. All right, so we're looking pretty good. There's probably a couple more pieces I would add, including, so on the front here, I have to make a decision on what I want to do. I said I do want a little bit of an overhang here. I don't want it just to be flat up against the front. Maybe I will just have it stick out 3.5 inches, make it all a whole lot more work for me for no particular reason. Now let's go ahead and take this rafter, or this piece right here, and offset it. Well, what should we do? All right, so if I was to take these ones back, we make that flush. So this right now, we could just sheathe right over, it would be flat, it would be perfectly fine. But what if we wanted to make it kind of cool and I wanted to take this and have it offset 6 inches? How would we go about that? Well, we do something like take this guy right here, maybe he'll stick out like that to support that in the middle, and we could even do something like this. We come into this top plate right now, right here, and we would stick that out like that. I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like any of that. Again, what could we do? There's lots of things we could do. What would probably make the most sense is to put some 2x4 material across here and then tie it all back together with sheathing, which is probably makes more sense. I was trying to get creative and make something kind of cool looking, but it's too small. It gets too ugly too quick. So we'll focus on things that aren't ugly, I guess. I'm gonna grab, so all of these are labeled, they're called rafters. This right here, I don't have this here, I'm gonna put this, I'm gonna call this my ridge beam. I'm trying to get instant usage in here. These are in here called studs right now. I might call these something different. I'll grab these 6 pieces that show up here and I'm gonna call them beam support. These are such tiny pieces, they'll probably be off-cut from something else, but I will label them nonetheless. Be complete. All right. Let's go ahead and, Nathaniel's saying too, this is such a small overhang that I could put, I'll put a couple pieces of lumber around here to connect things, and then the sheathing will take care of the rest. That'll be fine. I was just trying to get fancy. I was trying to do something pretty. I let it go. Pretty things, there's no place for pretty things in the world of construction, except me. All right, I'm gonna take this piece, I'm gonna copy it, and come out here, paste it. I'm gonna rotate it 90 degrees, grab it by the end, and I'm just gonna put this. All right, now I'm trying to think of where I should actually put this. I'll probably actually just put it right here. And then I'll rotate that, oops. Like that. Basically create kind of a fascia right there. And this, by doing this, is actually giving me more than a 6-inch overhang. So if I was really hung up on that 6 inches, I could come in and pull that length up. Really what I would do is see what happens with sheathing. For me, this is a variable number, and depending on how sheathing lays out, I may extend or shorten my overhangs just to make the sheathing work out better. This piece right here, though, I'm going to call it, this will be whatever my rafter material is. Oh, nope. Actually, so I shouldn't do this. I should delete this. No, I can't make it my rafter material. I have to make it unique, because my rafter material is not square cut on the end. So I'm going to call this 2x4, and I'll just call it what it is. I will incorrectly spell the word fascia. All right. All right, so I'm gonna call it my fascia. And then I'll take that piece and rotate it so it is in line with the end there, and use scale to pull that out to there. Ooh, that looks nice. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna use an extension. I'm gonna do, you guys saw me do this before, I'm gonna draw a line straight up, straight back, and put my little flag right here in the middle of my house, because I'm gonna select this piece, use Curic Mirror to hover over my flag, option click, to just copy that over on the other side. Honestly becoming one of my favorite extensions. Don't tell Selection Toys, but I'm really enjoying Curic Mirror a lot. That looks pretty good. I really want to put some blocking in here just because I feel like I should. I know that this is probably, you know, I'm gonna just throw a little bit of blocking in here just because I'm gonna use my fascia board. I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna make a copy up 24 inches. This is such a small piece. I know Nathaniel's gonna say it's not necessary, and this will probably be scrap, but I'm feeling like I really wanna put something in here. And then I'll offset another one along the ridge, 24, and then I can take both of these. Oh, I deleted my flag. I'll have to put another one in. And just mirror that with an option and a click from Curic. All right, so yes, that's probably more than we would actually need on there, but I feel better having it. And it accounts for less than 2 feet of wood, so I'm good. All right, at this point, I am gonna grab this entire roof, everything that makes up the roof, and I'm going to make that into a new group. All right, so now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups thus far. And I should have my sheathing on one layer and framing on the, up. What the heck, ridge board? On framing, there we go. Framing, sheathing. All right, everything's coming up so far. This is good. So far, so this. All right, let's go in and save, because I'm gonna do that. And let me take a peek up here at what everybody's saying, because I'm not paying attention. Okay, there was the bird's mouth comment. I remember that. I'm good. Yep. And you know, MJ Jason is referring to pieces, these support pieces being cripples, and I've always used the term cripple, but I've heard other people use other names, so yeah, I don't ever call them out as that, just because some people don't like that name. I don't know why. I don't know what Craig was referring back to. Somebody asked a question about Basecamp. I would recommend you keep an eye on the Basecamp website. All the information we have available for Basecamp is going to go up there. So head over there. I don't remember what the name of the website is, but yeah. If you search for SketchUp 3D Basecamp 2020, you'll find it. And any information relative to Basecamp will show up over there. I did modify my design slightly. Somebody's calling me out for varying from my massing model. It's true. I didn't have materials called out specifically specified for what this roof was. This was an arbitrary amount that I put this in. So I did kind of vary a little bit. I didn't go through and come up with a flat return on here. Again, such a small overhang. I'd be cramming so much wood in here to get that kind of thing going on that I felt like this was probably just fine. Yeah. Sounds good. All right. tomato, tomato. The tomato thing doesn't work when you write it because they're spelled the same. You have to put in tomato space tomahto for that to work. Otherwise, it's tomato, tomato, or tomato, tomato. I got what you're saying though. I gotcha. All right, so I think this is good. I think our framing will stand. I would feel pretty secure being inside of this, even if the tornado warning was happening. Maybe not with that big of a window. Maybe it's a, I have to put some steel shutters on here. No, probably not. I feel pretty good. All right, I'm gonna save, and I'm gonna take a 5-minute break. Drank a lot of coffee this morning, talking a little fast. You know where I'm at. So I'm gonna take 5 minutes. I will be right back, and we will keep going with this thing. So join me back here in 5. And we're back. Oh, thanks, guys. So I did go grab, this is Dave's shed. So this is the one that he just built. And you can see, this is not too, I mean, considering, I guess, whoops. I guess there's only so many ways to skin a cat, but if we look at this. So here's Dave's. Here's mine thus far. Not too bad. So Dave did say he used trusses on his, so he actually went in and did you just manually just hammer down plates, or He also has a kind of cool cut-in for a drop-in lateral support right here. Tie the roof together, and his studs are far closer on center than mine are. So if I go, what is this? He's got his 16-inch on center. Mine's a 24. His is also bigger. You got an extra 4 feet on mine, Dave. That looks pretty cool. Very nice. Thank you for sharing. That's pretty cool. That's an old one though. Oh, okay, so they're nailed and glued plywood gussets. Very nice. That's awesome. Great. Should have looked at that after I was done. Now I'm just thinking how good Dave's is. All right. Whoops. What did I did? What did I do? I turned everything on. Turned on back edges, turned on X-ray. I don't even know how I did that. That was fun. Anyhow,
K's.
now we're back. All right, let's throw some sheathing on here. No, hey, this will be fun. Let's report. Ooh, look at that. Oh, I did get my groups. Hold on. I saved it as report all. I don't know if you guys remember. I went back and I actually saved everything as report all. I made a change so it was reporting on nesting level 2, but I never saved that. I just said okay and ran it. So I'm gonna change it to 2. I'm not gonna save it now either. I'm just gonna go ahead and run it. And that should give me all of my material. So there from the bottom up, there's my treated material. There's my flooring OSB. And then here's my ridge beam. All my other materials. Sweet, pretty cool. I could work with this. I could build off that right there. All right, let's close this thing up. Let's get some sheathing on here. I'm gonna select this wall first. I'm gonna turn off the rest. And I guess I have to decide what I want to use for my actual sheathing. Dave mentions that his wood shed is built like a brick outhouse. But I'm surprised. I was expecting. Didn't you say, Dave, that you had you put windows up high or something like that to let light in? That's pretty cool. And Jimmy's pointing out that if you type tomato with enough extra A's in there, you can tell it's pretentious. That's an important thing to learn here as we go through this sort of thing. All right, so something I wanted to point out. This is a thing, again, garden shed versus real house. So if I was building this as a house, I would put my sheathing on here, knowing that I was going to go back afterwards and put, some kind of house wrap and then siding on it. Because it's a shed, I may go straight to just some kind of siding board. I may skip the actual plywood, that sort of thing. But again, what are we gonna do there? So one high, yeah, there's one high one in there. Okay, that's cool. So going back to this, we could actually kind of decide what do we want to do. Do we want to do just sort of an all-in-one because it is just a shed? I probably wouldn't go, this isn't going to be insulated. I want to keep it mostly dry inside, but it doesn't need to be airtight. It doesn't need to be, so I probably wouldn't sheath it, wrap it, and side it as a shed. I might go straight to some side of siding board on the outside. So having said that, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll pull this out to I don't know, I wanna pull it to a 1/2 inch. and I'm just gonna call this, I'm gonna make a new component, and I'm gonna call this my 1/2" siding. So that's what I'm gonna do for this one. Yeah, it might be lap siding. I'm not, like I said, this is kind of a, this could be just about anything. Your call, really. And if I look at this too, here's the other thing about this. If I look at this, I can really use any material I want here and throw it on to this thing. I don't really have any real weird material considerations. I don't have any inside corners where I'm gonna have to like pull back siding to make it lap over itself. I'm not gonna really worry about the corners because I'll probably just put a strip down the side to cover that up. So it really is kind of a, you do whatever you want once you get in there. So I'm gonna come in here and copy this because it's exactly 8 feet. That means I just have 2 pieces. This piece is 7'1" high, by the way. When we go report upon it, because it is vertical, it's gonna tell us that that is 7'1". That'll be our cut length for our board. I'm gonna come in here and grab both of these. I'm gonna put them on the sheathing layer, and I'm gonna copy them. And now I'm gonna go around to my different walls, turn off my reference layer, get rid of that, come into this wall, Command V. Oh. I have V is my shortcut key to Vertex Tools. So I didn't hold down Command. What? All right, what's going on here? Command C, click out, click in, Command V. I'm gonna take full responsibility for whatever was just happening right there. Mike Oliver is making an argument for using hardy board. T111 lasts a long time, but eventually water starts wicking in from the bottom and causes rot. So something to keep in mind, if you are in the market, you may want to consider hardy board rather than using T111. All right, I'm gonna come into this one, hit Command V again, and now we're gonna get to that point where I gotta make a decision on what to do here. So this now, and there's a couple ways I could go about this. I could leave it like this and be done, knowing that this is what I will actually frame. I will take my siding, I will frame over the whole thing, then I'll probably come inside and cut this material out, then put my window in. That's what I could do, and I could be finished right now. Obviously this sheathing is not going to show that there's a window. Same thing if I come in here for my door, Command V, and I put this in like this. This model will give me, if I report upon it, it will tell me how many pieces of material I actually need to sheath everything, but it's not going to look like my final piece because this is going to be sheathed over. So it's not going to look like my final shed. So here's a couple things I could do. I could make multiple layers. I could have a layer that is for my cut material and turn that layer on when I select to report. And then I could have a separate layer, which is my beauty layer, which will have modifications of the original component just to show how it's going to get cut. This is still, I call it beauty, but it's still useful because you may actually want to, I don't know, you probably wouldn't pre-cut your siding. It would probably be much easier to cut it to the opening, but it would be possible. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to make a second layer. I'm going to make a new layer called Beauty Sheathing. Yeah, I spelled it right. All right. So on my beauty sheathing layer, I'm going to make a copy of each of these pieces. So I'm going to say Control C, Control V. Actually, not Control V. I'm gonna say Edit Paste in Place. When it pastes it in place, it puts it exactly where it was before, so it's on top of my current layer, or my current sheathing, but it's the one that's highlighted. So if I come to layer right now, and I choose beauty sheathing, now I should be able to turn off sheathing, and my beauty sheathing's there. I turn off beauty sheathing, and I turn on sheathing, that's there. So this is an option. I do have to make sure that I only have one of them on at a time. This is almost done, except that I need to put a hole in this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this one sheet, and I'm gonna say, make unique, and I'm gonna call it 1/2 inch siding dash window. I'm kind of making stuff up as I go right now, so if you don't agree with this, you're probably right. All right, I'm gonna turn everything on, and I'm gonna trace the rectangle of this half of the window onto the back of my sheathing piece, and I'll push it through the other side. That gives me that. If I come out here, here's what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna actually take and delete this sheet, and I will take this one, use Curic Mirror to mirror onto this face right here with Option, and because it's symmetrical, oh, it's not symmetrical. That window's not centered. Dun dun dun. Why is that? My framing is 3 feet wide. But it's not in the middle. Whew, good thing we came into Q&A the framing, huh? All right, I'm gonna hide the rest of stuff. I'm gonna turn off my, oh no! After everything I said, I started cutting on the sheathing layer, not the beauty sheathing layer, after everything anyhow. I'm gonna undo a couple times. All right. I'm gonna turn off both my sheathing layers. I'm gonna find out why my header is not in the middle. I'm gonna grab all the pieces associated with my header framing, except for the center studs, and I'm gonna move them using the middle of the header as a handle to slide this to the center of the wall, like that. There we go. So now that should be 4 foot this way, 4 foot this way. Whew. Yeah, I thought when I design in front of a couple hundred people, you guys would have my back there and tell me I was doing something wrong. Now we're gonna try this again. I'm gonna delete one of the sheets. I'm gonna go into this sheet right here, turn everything back on. I'm going to draw a rectangle, push-pull that to the other side, back out one level, grab this sheet, Curic Mirror, hover over this face, Option click. All right, ooh, that's better. All right, let's see if I did a good job on the door. All right, so I'm gonna have to do this. I'm gonna have to do the same thing in each of these. It's a cool design. I kind of like it. It's kind of neat. It's original. Airflow's great through the whole thing. All right.
Not very windproof.
Undo, 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 undo. And we'll try this. Third try's a charm. I'm gonna select this piece. I'm gonna right click and make unique. Oy. I'm gonna call this one my window sheathing, enter. Oh, and I already have one named that. Man. All right, so I'm just gonna grab both of these out of component browser and delete them. Delete. All right, so now on my normal sheathing, we reached that point where I'm talking and doing stuff rather than actually paying attention to what I'm doing. So you guys feel free to remind me that I'm still actually actively doing things right now. All right, so I'm gonna come into this wall, grab my 2 pieces of sheathing, copy. I'm gonna turn off my sheathing. I'm going to edit, paste in place, and then change it to beauty sheathing. So what I did there was I actually had the layer I was working on turned off, but by changing layer after when it was selected, it moved it to the current layer and became visible. Same thing. I gotta do this in each group. So I'm gonna Control C, turn off. I actually have a shortcut for paste in place on my mouse. And then change that to beauty sheathing. Oh man. Well, now what's your problem here? Oh, I drew that rectangle on the back. Let's get rid of that. Okay. That did tell me that the front and back are switched on these two also. Maybe you have an issue if I ever have to put any detail on this, which I'm kind of okay with them being extruded rectangles only. I'm going to paste in place and then move to beauty sheathing. And one more time. Control C, turn off sheathing, paste in place, and switch that to beauty sheathing. Okay, so now I'm on my beauty sheathing layer. So, dang it, I just did that thing that I do. Both of these moved to beauty sheathing. All right, now I can get rid of that later. All right, so I'm on my beauty sheathing layer, and I should save. Good, you can see everything crumbling, Christopher. I appreciate the reminder. All right, I'm gonna go into just this one sheet, draw my rectangle. Nope, I'm gonna almost did it a 4th time. I'm going to make unique. I'm gonna call this 1/2" siding dash window. All right, I'm gonna come in here now. I'm gonna draw my rectangle, push that through. Just that one changed. All right, we're good. I'm gonna delete this one extra piece, grab this one, and again, Curic mirror this thing, and there's my framing around the window, or my sheathing around the window. All right, I grab this one in the front now, and I'm gonna delete that, grab this one, make it unique, call it 1/2" siding dash door. Same process here. Whoop. Double click to enter, rectangle from here down to here, push pull that through, and actually that kind of leaves a lip here. Actually, there's something I want to think about with that. For right now, I'm just gonna leave it. I'm gonna come out here, select it, and again, mirror option, and that should line up with the framing. That time it does. Okay, so here's our beauty sheathing with our opening there. If I turn that off and turn my standard sheathing on, that's actually the layer that I would want to report upon. Oh boy, got it. We got there. That was really something. All right. So a couple things. One thing I would want to consider. Undoing back past the creation of the component, get rid of the component. Yes, if I look at my components right here, here's my special components. If I start undoing, and I undo far enough, my component is still saved in the model. It's not actively in here, but, oop, wait, no, hold on. I didn't undo enough. All right. There, if I undo enough, then I go back and yes, it actually disappears. See, my 1/2" siding dash door is gone now. So yes, undoing will actually remove it. That is the answer. Now I gotta redo a bunch to get it back though. All right, there we go. I lost some of my windows. I don't know where they went. That's okay, I got what I need right now. All right, so if I go into report, I do want to grab everything that is on with the sheathing layer, not beauty sheathing, and then report upon that. Almost done. I do have a little bit more sheathing that I would have to account for, and that's this section right here. I'd want to probably use the same sheathing. I'm wondering right now, this is 7 feet. How much higher is this? 1'4". So if I look at this, if I was to frame all the way up, that would be 8'5". So a standard 4-foot piece of sheathing's not going to actually get up there. So that's going to be, that's too bad. Well, let's see. How much would I have to drop it? I have to drop it. So here's a couple things that I do want to point out. My sheathing is currently starts at the bottom of the wall. One thing I may want to actually do is have this sheathing, extend down to maybe here or something like that to tie that together. That was one of the things I was going to point out, is that probably makes a little bit more sense to actually have that tie down into the floor joists rather than sitting up on top of the wall. Not a requirement, but since I have, I have an 8-foot piece of sheathing already being cut off, I might as well go ahead and extend those up anyhow. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to grab my sheathing, I'm going to pull that up. And this is something else too. That's a little bit long because I'd actually only be able to sheath right here, but you get that. All right, so I'd probably want to do something more like that on my actual sheathing layer. I'm going to just drop those down. So something Nathaniel's pointing out is, yes, my sheathing is butting up rather than lapping. Again, because my boards are exactly 8 inches wide, or 8 feet wide, they're coming to the corner but not lapping over. I don't have enough board here to push this through an extra 1/2 inch to cause my boards to lap. I'll put some sort of a corner on there most likely to account for that. I'm gonna do the same thing here, real quick. Drop it down, use scale to pull it up. One more time on the back. And I'm not gonna bother doing this with the beauty sheathing. You guys are seeing how I'm doing this right now. I'm just using move to drop it and then scale to pull it up. I don't necessarily have to go in and show you how to do that again. I don't think. I think you guys are good. All right, so to finish off the sheathing, yeah, Mike Oliver's saying actually using a 2x2 aluminum angle is great on there if you like that metal look. So I do have to do something right here. I have to close this up. So I would probably come in here and, depending on this sheathing, so if this sheathing has, if there's texture on it going across, then I have to maintain orientation. I would have to keep that in mind when I come to fill in this backside with material. If it's not, if it's just a solid piece, then I could actually do something like grab this board, throw it right here, and I could cut out my shape to put just to put a piece to close it up. Same thing over here. I'm just thinking right now. This is me talking out loud as I consider possibilities. Since this is an 8-foot sheet, it will actually go from here to here. So I could take this board and I could actually, cut just this triangle shape out of it to close up the back side of this gable. And then I could take what's left, I could cut out enough to cover this portion right here too. So that would work. Assuming, like I said, that there is no orientation of this, whatever siding I end up using. if it is something where I have, you know, like that board something going this way that actually shows that, then if I flip it, then I got an issue. The other thing, yes, Bruce just caught it. If I want to, so I can connect, this board's going to connect to these rafters just fine. It's going to connect in the middle. This is a short span, but there's nothing holding the bottom. I'd either have to grab some kind of blocking in here, or I could take these two and I could actually drop these down like that and then push this board down. That'll give me a full 2x4 to connect that piece to. So I might make this unique and call it half gable board. Now we're really making stuff up. All right, I'm gonna come in here to this one. And this is for my own knowledge. I'm gonna grab this, push it over to the side, and get rid of that. So that closes up my gable. This right here, I'm gonna cut, and I'm gonna come over here to this side, come into this wall. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna grab these two, and I'm gonna use scale to drop them down to, wait.
Are you gonna be able to get those two pieces out of one piece of OSB?
That's what I'm wondering. If I make way, there we go. Drop that down 1/2 inch. Now I can actually paste that shape in, push-pull it 0.5 inches. But temporarily I'm just going to group it because I want to see if this even fits. And then I will stick it right here. Oh yeah, look, plenty of space to cut that out. I'll have these fun things to like make some wings out of or something. All right, so I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna make my line here. Make my line here. Push-pull this through, and then I'll actually take this. I just made a group to temporarily isolate the geometry, but now I'll actually take it and make it a new component. And then, what did I call that last one? 1/2 inch sheathing, 1/2 board gable small. Something like that. I told you, I will name components, but they're not always pretty. All right, so this accounts for another sheet. Now this is where we get a little bit limited with what Generate Report can do, because Generate Report will allow us to report upon the pieces that are in the model, but it doesn't have a good way of saying this piece and this piece are actually the same piece. I can't just kind of wedge those two together, unfortunately. But that's where I'll have to do a little bit of manual reporting or consolidation to make that work. Did I put all of these? Did I put this one on sheathing? And put this one onto sheathing. All right. Oh, wait. Whoa. How did I?
Yeah, you'd have to do an advanced. You could do an advanced attribute, Aaron, for everything that was its own piece of lumber specifically, or was meant to be cut from a piece of lumber that you knew existed.
Yes. Oh, right here. Okay. I hit spacebar or something. So there's two of these. I got a gable small and a gable large. There's information about them So I might want to actually come in here to complete this thing, copy that, paste in place, and move it to beauty sheathing so that that closes up properly. Oh, but then I gotta come into my beauty sheathing. Oh, come on, beauty. Gotta take both of these and scale them down so they're not too, it's not gonna work. All right. It's occurring to me that I'm trying to satisfy multiple needs here. Maybe not the ideal way to do this. I'm trying to make it look good and feed generate report perfectly. I may want to actually choose one or the other, or maybe even have multiple versions of this model. So anyhow, just something to think about. Why am I building the model? What do I actually want out of it? That's all. Turn sheathing on. See, paste in place, and then change that back to beauty sheathing again. All right, so there's my beautified sheathing. So I'm gonna throw some more sheathing on. This is the last piece. I do have to sheathe my roof. That's gonna be a great spot to have sheathing. Some would say that in a structure, the roof sheathing is maybe some of the most good sheathing. Yeah, Jimmy's saying just throw some plexiglass up there and let the light in. There's your overhead lights, Dave. You know how expensive plexiglass is, though? That's nuts. That's expensive stuff. And it's so easy to wreck, to crack or break or anything. All right, so I'm gonna go up here into my roof group, and I'm going to I'm gonna start down on this end with a new piece of sheathing, and I'm gonna bring it this way. I'm gonna see what happens if I go this way 8 feet, and then I'm gonna come this way 4 feet. Basically, I'm just drawing a sheet on here right now to see what happens. All right, so this is kind of what I was thinking was gonna happen. So sheathing's a little bit harder to report upon. Most likely, if you want to report upon sheathing, you'll end up doing a second report rather than taking the first one. Linear lumber is real easy because there's really one dimension you want. The name tells you what size it is, and then there's a single dimension. With sheets, you want two things. One thing you want is you're going to want to report the total count of sheathing. So you go buy your material, you know how many pieces to get. The second piece is going to be potentially the cut sheet information. So that's going to say how many pieces do I actually need and what are the cut dimensions. And that's all going to come down to how confident you feel pre-cutting your sheathing versus putting it up and marking it and then taking it down and cutting it, that sort of thing. But two different masters here that we have to keep in mind. One of the things that people do a lot with professionally framed roofs is actually taking one piece, cutting it, and then using the offcut in a different spot. Thing to remember about this sheathing is usually it's tongue and groove. So that says that two of the sides will have a little piece of material that sticks out this way, and the other two sides will have a little groove that tongue sticks into, so they interlock. It does mean, however, that every piece has to be the same orientation. I can't just chop a board off here, turn it 90 degrees and plop it in over here and have it work, because it will be out of orientation with the tongue and groove. So that's a whole bunch of things to say. I don't really know how we should do this. Again, kind of like what we did right here, I might have to do a little bit of a reminder to myself to say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces, 9 pieces of wall sheathing. Up here, I'm immediately going to have to come in and chop, what is this? 1'6" off of this first piece, and I don't know that I have a spot to relocate 1'6". So this may just be its own full piece. But that's just something to, see, Christopher Moran's like, he's thinking outside the box. He's saying just go buy salvage windows and put them in there. That would probably work. Except where we live, we're in this crazy thing where we just have gotten just slammed by hail every spring, summer for the last few years. It's been kind of nuts. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go in and frame it, knowing that I'll come back and actually do my counting. I won't worry about my design for this particular one. I'll just count I'm gonna have 3 to 4 pieces of roof sheathing. Hopefully 3. See if I can get it down to 3. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna come in and this one piece, oh, I have an idea. I just thought of how I'm gonna do this. All right, so each component I create is going to be its own piece of sheathing. So I'm gonna grab this and I'm gonna say, I'm gonna draw a line here and I'm gonna split right at the center of this rafter. I'm gonna grab this sheet right here. I'm gonna cut it, whoops. I'm gonna copy it and paste it right over here off to the side and then trim it off. I don't know if this is gonna work, but I'm gonna try. All right, so that right there is sheet number 1. So I'm gonna make this 7/16 or 5/8. And I'm gonna call this, I'm selecting all this geometry, I'm gonna make it into a component right now, and I'm gonna call this roof sheet 1. Boom, put it on just like that. Now in this group, I'm gonna take this piece right here, no, I'm not. That does nothing. I really can't do anything with this off-fall, so I'm just gonna delete it. All right, there's my sheet number 1, done. I thought I had some cool things I could do there, but I don't know how to save that. The next one I'll be able to save. So there's really, so that less than 2 feet that I cut off, there's not a whole lot I can do with that, unfortunately. So I got rid of it. This next one though, I'm gonna take a copy of this one, option copy, drop it on right here, and make this unique and call that roof sheet 2. Now, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna draw a line up here. All right. Now this, oh man, come on. I'm not paying attention to context now. Can't think in model, it's too hard. I'm gonna move this over to the side. And this, actually I can make this longer because I can make this longer by my offcut, which I don't remember what that was. So this is 2 3/4. This is, here, let me just, see, I almost did math instead of remembering that I have a tool to do that math for me. If I put a full 8-foot length, this is a full board, and I take this and align it to the end, I now realize that all of this can be cut and pasted over here. And now I'm just going to move this piece over to here. Oh, I need a snap point. Move this piece over to here. Oh, stop making me look like I don't know what I'm doing. There we go. I'm gonna offset that. And now I can actually take this piece right here, swing it around, and use it right here. Oh, so close. What if I put it right here? I'm losing material either way. Yeah, I'll just leave it here. Push that back to here. and back another 3/4 inch. All right, so now, because this is one component, when I do a quantity and I start counting the pieces that are labeled roof sheathing, I know I have 1, 2, because this is the same piece cut in half, and now I'll have a third one over here. This one, unfortunately, is going to be pretty much a full sheet just to get this half.
So Aaron, you know, my wild card idea here, which I don't think we'll have time to do, is to create a custom dynamic component attribute. And basically, you could essentially program that attribute to be a percentage of the length of the standard, you know, unit measurement of that piece. So in your report, you'd have the length of the cut and also what percentage of a piece that you would buy is it. So if you tallied up all the percentages in the model, then you'd have the number of pieces you actually need represented as a percentage. Wild card, like I said.
That is a wild card idea. There's Mark. Not only does he think outside the box, he's not even aware that there's a box. Just throw that out there for you guys.
Maybe we'll put our brains together about that later and follow up on the forum thread if we can figure out the formula for that dynamic component.
Yeah, because it would be pretty cool. So like I said, we kind of have it now. So 1, 2, 3. Somebody asked if you can just orient the sheathing 90 degrees from the way you have it now. That was what I was saying. That's the problem with the fact that this is tongue and groove. So this side might have a groove in it, which means the next piece I put in has to have the tongue side in it. You can not use tongue and groove materials, of course. That's perfectly fine. Or, as has happened in the past, you can cut the tongue off and then lap it however you like. That's your call too.
Is the vertices of that sheathing component gonna mess up your report right now? Because it's if you select one of those roof sheets.
Yeah, I guess if I wanted to get the cut length off a full sheet, what I should do is you're absolutely right. I should come in here and say, put red here and then blue here, and that will give me the actual cut length of a full sheet.
That way my formula. That way my formula will work, right?
But this one's but I would have to definitely do this one different because having this sheet in 2 pieces is not gonna work. Because the overall length of this piece is going to be 8.5 feet because this geometry is too big. We got too. That's what I'm saying. We're trying to serve too many masters right now. We're trying to do everything, which I'm a fan of. I like doing everything, but sometimes you got to think more than say how much thinking I would do when I'm winging it like this. All right, so here we have, how much is this? This is less than a foot. So we should be able to sheathe the rest of this with one more sheet. See, I like that. Somebody just called out, well, in New Zealand, we use corrugated roof, so done. I do like that. I like that concept. So right here, this will actually be, I want to make this unique. So this is something I have done before just to make sure geometrically I was going to be able to save everything. I'm going to come into this roof sheet and I'm going to take it back down to 2D basically, temporarily. I'll bring it back up to 3D in just a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut across like this. I'm going to grab this, Control C, Control V, and set this over here. Get rid of that geometry around here. All right, so now basically I am just taking pieces and I'm just cutting out of one piece. This makes sense to everybody? Control C, Control V, set that over there. Get rid of this. The reason I'm not cutting, if I hit Control X, I'll actually cut this piece from the beginning too, and that won't work. All right, so now I need to take that. Use inferencing to rotate that down, and now I can grab it and slap that right down here. Oop, I should actually take that out a little bit further to account for the sheathing. There we go. Control C, Control V. And look at that. Then we take that. And I am ignoring the tongue and groove, assuming that we'll be able to cut it. It'll work for half of them. But all right, so we end up with that, which we can now.
I want to hang on to that profile so you could have a plan of how to cut that last piece.
Whew, look at that. Yeah, this is an extra board. You give this to your kid and you can go make a ramp out of it or something. So that would kind of work. And like I said, because of the way I did that, I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 sheets that will show up in my inventory. They're gonna show up with some wacky dimensions. So that's what I was saying. What I may end up doing actually is coming up with a separate sheathing report that will give me all of that. I'll take
Like
that.
Laundry, and you paint it if you want, make it top of your roof. Laundry and a piece of art.
Well, yeah, wind vane kind of thing too. And just all right. So I'm gonna turn off my beauty sheathing, and I'm just gonna look at this real quick. So this is we didn't make a door. So long, sheathing. All right, let's make a door real quick. For my door, I'm gonna draw a rectangle and just bring that rectangle on out. All right, what I would probably do for a door is have a piece of sheathing the size of the door, and I'm just making a shed door. This is real simple. We're not going to get a prefabricated door or anything like that. I'll probably take this, maybe we'll offset this like by a 1/16 of an inch, something like that, to make the door slightly smaller. Tell you the secret about wood, it moves. So a piece of wood will shrink and expand depending on the moisture in the air, the location it's at. Shrink and expand depending on how much you are depending on it to not do that. It's obstinate like that. So I'll take that and I'll bring that out assuming this is gonna be same 1/2 inch material that I used before. I'm gonna make that its own component, and call it 1/2 inch sheathing, door sheathing. Create that, and of course I'm not just gonna have a piece of sheathing that's gonna be a little on the weak side, so I will come in and I'll actually put some wood around here to frame it. I'm gonna go grab one of these, copy that, and I'm coming back into this group. Oh, I don't have it in a group. I'm just gonna paste it, and I will scale that back. All right, some of you may already be calling out that there's gonna be a problem here. If you are, good for you. If you didn't call it out, then don't pretend you did. Don't say you knew that was coming. Because, let's get these pieces on here. I would probably want to put some sort of lateral, that's going to have a habit, it's going to want to twist a little bit. So I'd probably put some sort of lateral support in here also if that was a cable, a tension cable, or I could actually put a piece of material here to here. Let's do that because it'll be fun. I'm going to grab this piece. Actually, I'm going to grab all these pieces. They are still 2x4 plate material. That's fine. Same material I'm using for plate. I would lump that together to get the footage out of those. But I'm going to call them door piece. And I'm going to take this guy right here and make a copy of him centered, boom, right at that point right there. This is going to be a unique component.
Now it really feels like you're saying no to my sliding barn door idea.
This could still slide. It could still slide. All right, so I'm going to call this. This is going to be a special piece because I have to cut it away from being square. I'm going to angle cut it. I guess I wouldn't have to. I could actually leave it not cut, but I'm gonna do it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it and rotate it so that it meets right here at the middle. So I'm gonna select it. I'm gonna go to rotate. I'm gonna pick. See, I intentionally placed the middle of this piece right here at the intersection. Now I'm gonna rotate and stay on the red axis, and I'm gonna click down to the middle of this point here. Now I'm going to spin it to where the projection line hits right there. So this doesn't have to actually lap the point I'm snapping to, it just has to point to that spot. Then I can select it, use scale, because the axis is still lined up, and I could scale it down here. If I wanted to keep this as the same component, I could actually just leave it just like that. I could leave it, and I could take this, do the same thing, click here, option, rotate that down to here. I could actually be finished with that like that. Knowing that when I actually frame this, I'm gonna come in and cut these little corners off to make it fit inside that frame. That would work. That would actually be totally acceptable way to do it. And that way I could save this as the same 2x4 plate. I wanna go further because I wanna come in here and I want to cut these two pieces back, and notice what happens here. Uh-oh, bad things. There we go, and pull that back and that back, and that top piece looks good, the bottom piece looks bad because I rotated it. What I should actually do, delete, select it, and I'll use Curic Mirror again, hover right here. Huh, that's interesting. That was not what I wanted it to do. Let's try that again. All right, Curic Mirror, hover right here. Right? Should mirror right across there down to... I guess not. All right, what I'll do instead, first you can't do it that way, do it a different way. I'm gonna go ahead and grab rotate, and I'm gonna move to this middle point. I'm gonna constrain the green axes, option, flip it, boom, there we go. So there is our reinforcement for our door. All right, I'm gonna make this a group. I'm gonna put this onto its own layer called door. All right, now this is where I was saying some of you guys may have caught this potential issue. All right, so I made this door a 1/16 inch small, right? So it should sit just inside a 1/16 inch all the way around. That looks good. It gives me a little bit of clearance. Wood's gonna swell, gonna move, gonna whatever. 16 inch actually, for an exterior shed, 16th might be a little too small. I might even wanna go like a 1/4 inch to give myself or an 1/8 inch to give myself a little bit, little more, play there. But here's the thing that's gonna happen. So depending on where I put my hinge, I'm gonna just draw a line straight up from the edge there. I may run into a problem right now with how this door rotates out. So if I start rotating it out like this, it looks pretty good, but look if I zoom in here, is that gonna actually, do I have enough space there to clear? Ooh, man, here I was planning on having caused a problem, and looks like I did such a great job designing that may just clear okay.
Yeah, but now it really looks like this door's not going to slide.
Squeak.
At least not this afternoon. Not before we need to go to happy hour.
It'll slide someday, Mark, maybe. All right, so that actually worked way better than I was expecting. I do want to, that should actually be out because I would want my siding to be, oops, lined up with my siding. So I should pull that out 1/2 inch. And turn my siding back on, or my sheathing. Oop, let's look at my beauty sheathing to see how that lines up. Ooh, yeah, looking nice. All right, where are we at right now? We're at 3 o'clock.
Time to bring it home.
Yeah, what should we do right now? So there's a couple things. We could do some, here, I'm gonna turn on my normal sheathing. Let's run a report, just this whole thing, just like this. I'm gonna just see what happens. I am going to go in and make sure I do level 2 report. If I run report right now, let's see what this all looks like. Everything has a name on it. Nothing's called group or component, so I'm gonna chalk that up as a win right off the bat. If we look at this, so here's my fascia boards. I have 2 different lengths, that makes sense. 2 of them are the, my little blocks that I put in there were called fascia, and then my long ones across the end. My angle L board for the door is a special piece because it's angle cut. Got door pieces, headers, all cut out of plate material. And then here's some rafter material, got 12 of those. Bunch of studs. Then my beam. Then I have a whole bunch of sheathing. My sheathing has some bunch of weird dimensions because it's showing me the Z length. That looks pretty cool. What I may do, so I may go back here and go back even further. I may actually take this and I may call this lumber and save that with the intention of running that specific report with my sheathing off. Now I gotta go into my door group real quick because I did not assign the individual pieces to the proper layers. So this should go to sheathing. These right here are on framing. Okay, so here is my frame materials, my lumber right now. Got loose geometry, just spotted it. That'll keep me up at night, that kind of thing. Whoops, too much. Go. All right, sorry. All right, so here I take just my shed, just my material, my lumber material, go to File, Generate Report, and run the report on that one. That's just what's selected. And, oops, go back. Edit. Again, level 2, I'll save it this time, and run it. Go back again. Let's check everything. All right, current selection, level 2, save changes. All right, now select this, generate report, run it. I am still getting my sheathing. That's odd. My sheathing's turned off. Huh. I assume I'm doing something wrong. All right, what am I doing wrong? Sorry, I'm cleaning up extra geometry is what I'm doing. Turn my framing on, my sheathing on. If I turn sheathing off, select just this geometry, and then generate my report. Still getting my sheathing. So by being outside the group, when it goes in, is it selecting things despite visibility? I don't know, this is rhetorical right now, but I'm hoping somebody knows. Because what I should be able to do, all right, let me try this. Let me explode this top level group. All right, just grab just that geometry and hit document setup. That's what I was shooting for. All right, generate report, run it. Oh, go back. So all selected, run report. All right, there we go. Now I'm getting just my materials. So that's what I want to say. That's what I want to export as my material list for lumber. And then I'm going to go back here, go back. I'm going to duplicate my current live shed report, make it for sheathing. Edit that. And I'm going to change what I have here because, so I'm going to put my definition entity name in quantity, but I'm going to show, I don't know what this is going to look like. I'm just going to do it though. I'm going to show my XYZ length and run the report. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to turn framing off, sheathing on, select all that, and then generate report. Oops. Sheathing. Save that and run it. All right, I don't know what I just did. Let's try that again. Z, X, Y length, and run that. All right, so I was not careful. I'm changing my report on the fly, knowing that I was not very careful about the way I did this, because what I should have done is oriented my axes all the time so that they were the same for a single piece of sheathing, and I didn't do that, because what I have here is multiple pieces that have, so here's my half inch, half inch, half inch.
Got some problem child.
5/8. Oh, this one must, this is off axes completely because nothing there is the right size, nor this one. But I like where I'm going with this. it would be an issue of going through and reorienting my axes on every piece of sheathing so it goes the same direction. So, all right, I got off there. I wandered off into the woods for there for a second. Let's close that. Let's go back to here. Let's turn our beauty sheathing back on and our framing. All right. So that was framing a basic shed. Kind of scrambled trying to think of some other things to show there and just kind of wandered around. I apologize. Nobody wanted to do that because I did it. Does that make sense? Everybody kind of like that? Let's see. I'm going to grab some of these pieces right here. I'm going to copy them. Paste them. Nope. I'm going to paste them in place and put them onto a beauty sheathing layer. That way I actually have those there. And I have another empty layer. All right, good. Yeah, so that makes sense. Is everybody liking that? Like how that turned out? Why did you? Oh, that was on me. I'm gonna put these back on beauty sheathing. Delete this empty layer. I have a really bad habit of when I tap the space bar constantly to hit. It's like my default. Let's go back to select. Go back to select. It's actually on my mouse. I have it mapped to the thumb button. I have a button under my thumb, and I tap on it constantly. And what I don't pay attention to is when I'm editing something, the fact that the focus is on a field in here. So when I tap the space bar right now, it just went and it overwrote the instance name to space, rather than just because my mouse is over here doesn't mean the focus isn't somewhere else. So just something to be conscious of if you're some people hit escape, some people hit space bar, some people hit return, just out of habit from using different programs over the years. If you do that, just keep an eye on what your focus is on at that time. So yeah, so this is looking pretty cool. I kind of like this as a shed. It went pretty smoothly, except for the when I tried to make up reports as I was going. So one of the things I did do, and this was intentional, I did leave it is open here, so I do have some ventilation. I didn't close this up, I didn't block this. That was on purpose because I do want to have some ventilation so the air can move through the building. Plus it's a shed, so I'm not too worried about it. It's going to be cold on the inside because it's not insulated and it's a shed. The only thing that would be left at this point would be potentially to come in and do some trim materials. So if I was doing like a 1x material or something like that, some kind of a trim, or like aluminum L on there, something like that, I could put those pieces on here too. And if I oriented them correctly, I could actually pull the linear dimensions off of there as well. Yes, so forgive my indulgence in my wandering there, but we got to something. Let me throw out to you guys now. What do you think? What do you? This is kind of done-ish, but and I'm sorry, we did not get to everything we wanted. We did not get Mark's sliding door detail on here.
You know, I figured out how to do that percentage of the cut length, basically. So if you create a component attribute and you just make a custom attribute, which would be the percentage of the cut length that you would do.
Mm-hmm.
It just equals len z divided by that length in the default inches, and you get
that makes sense.
A percentage for each component instance of like what the available cut length is.
That's cool.
And then that would just be a custom attribute you'd pull into your report.
Do you have that as a sample thing we could throw up
Yeah,
on?
I'll throw it onto the forum thread with the finished shed model.
Nice.
But the problem with it, actually, I think it's kind of a cool idea. You would just make the first component that way, and then, and this is actually a comment I have about the entire workflow. I think you should be making unique all the time, because then every component would already, every component would already have the len z that in the orientation you want. You wouldn't have had that problem with the sheathing. So maybe a keyboard shortcut for make unique would have made your life less of a hassle.
You could, just thinking of ways that afterwards, you could actually invert instance and definition name, right? Because instance doesn't have to be unique. Yeah, totally. So your definition name, your actual component could be separate, but then you could have the same instance name on it, which will allow you to still get a cut sheet of all the same material types.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Last gasp of creativity right there.
Yeah, we got it all figured out now that it's done. So that's our shed. I will throw it up as it is. I did actually save, so as I was going through here with generate report, I did actually save both of these reports. I saved them into the model. So normally as you create reports, they're saved to SketchUp. You do have to intentionally hit that button to save it into the model also. But that means when you guys download this model from 3D Warehouse, and I'll put the link in the forum also, you can actually check it out, check out the reports, play with the reports. You can, as usual, I invite you to do right what I didn't do right as I was streaming and make it even better. Take it to the next level for me. So we didn't actually use it very much. Ian did post a picture of the shed that he recently built, which is very nice. It looks much nicer than what I made, so that looks great. Good job, Ian. That's nice. Dave and Ian are apparently shed guys, so now we know that. So here's the part where I want to call out to you guys, our awesome, amazing viewers who make this whole thing worth it. What else should we be doing? So we have some ideas. Next week, we're going to come back and it's occurring to me now what I'm wearing as I say this, because I don't want you guys to think this is all Star Wars. We have done a couple Star Wars projects, but I found some really cool machining images or plans, machining plans for solid lightsaber hilts, and they are so cool. I couldn't help it. I'm like, I got to do that. We got to model that. We're gonna look at using some follow me to simulate lathing and solid tools to simulate machining. So next week we're gonna come back here and we're gonna make 2 or 3 of the lightsaber hilts from the original trilogy. So that'll be fun. That'll be a good time. That'll be cool. So hopefully you guys are up for that, and you'll swing by next Friday and see that. But like I said, these are some ideas that we actually did have those. That was an idea from way back. So that was, I can't remember when exactly that request came in. That was like months ago, and we've done a lot of these now. We're like over a dozen live streams we have under our belt, so I'd almost say we know what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Almost. Except that we're still winging it and making it up. So all that to say, please leave a comment with something that you think would make a cool model. Something that would be fun to watch, something that's, 3 hours, something that's a little challenging, and we could potentially set up as learning. So some of the things we've done in the past, if you've seen it, we've done some, so we did a jet last time, we did a helicopter, did 2 flying things, which is unusual now that I think about it. We did a pirate ship. Somebody asked for a car, and we ended up modeling Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, but technically it's a car.
So
it has wheels.
I just sent you that custom dynamic component.
Oh, cool.
Might be like one of the first successful dynamic components that I've programmed myself. But it's super simple. I figure people might want to see it, actually.
Awesome. So hold on just one second. Let me go hop over here. All right. Here is...
We can make this real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like the video might have.
Yeah, I switched over while I opened my email.
This is the after hours stream now.
Etc.
Aaron, close. Oh, here we go. All right, I'll make this quick. So, if you go to component, right-click that, either of those guys. If you right-click one of those and go to component attributes.
So this is a full piece. It's set at 1.
Yeah.
This one's 0.6.
So let me get back here. I'm on a time lag. I can't see what Aaron's doing.
That's right.
So if you double click,
Guest guy on camera.
If you double click that attribute, that's my formula basically. It's Lenzy over the
96
inches,
for the full length.
Yeah. So that basically means that you could in your generated report list out that attribute.
So now I just have to take. So if I scale it, will it change then?
Yeah, if you scale it, that'll change.
Ooh, look at that.
So
0.046.
Yeah, so now your report would contain the cut length, but also the percentage of a full piece of that, depending on what was available from where you're buying your materials.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, so a full 8 foot or 96 inch piece, it's telling me this is 0.28.
Yeah, so
4376 of that full 8 foot.
Even your 2x4s, you do that for.
Very cool.
So there's your
There we go.
piece count for.
So there.
That's
Yeah.
a shopping list for you right there.
Just add it all up to how many times you hit 1. That's cool.
All right. Well, I feel like I contributed today.
That's right. Good thing Mark was here. All right, modeling a tap wrench. Ooh, that would be fun because that's some fine machine geometry right there. All right. Troy's asking one more time. This is a 3D mouse. This specific model is a Space Mouse Enterprise from 3D Connection. And Christopher's just catching up. It's okay. There wasn't a whole lot of good stuff to see. The chat was the good stuff there, if I do say so myself. So hopefully, yeah, if you guys want to go back and recheck out any of the details, there was a couple spots where we just kind of were winging it and trying to making stuff up, but yeah, there's some good things to be learned in there. All right, well, as usual, I thank you guys for coming here. I want to thank our special guest moderator, comment moderator. That's what I'm going to call that position, a moderator. Mark, for swinging by and hanging out with us too. So thank you, Mark.
Thanks for dealing with me,
And-
Dr. Ahmed. I
Well,
appreciate it. That was
I know
a
Mark
rough
well
start.
enough to know that he took it easy on us today. That could have been, he could have been way worse. And thank you guys. Thank you all for coming by. Like I always say, if it weren't for you guys, this would just be me sitting in a room modeling alone, which is far less gratifying. And I don't think the world gets as much out of it as it does when we hang out together. So the world thanks you. I may have overstepped by thanking you on account of the whole world, but you guys get the idea. So I will post this shed up onto 3D Warehouse, put a link in the forum. Again, if you're not already there, go to forums.sketchup.com. It is a great place not just to follow along during these live streams, but to get information, all things SketchUp. So yeah, swing by and hang out, join the forums if you haven't already. You guys have a great weekend. We'll leave the comments running for about 5 minutes after we shut the cameras off. That way, if you guys do have ideas for good models, you can throw that on there and we can model some more stuff that you want to see. So, and you can, I'm just going to throw this out there too. We've had some stuff that's been pretty vague, like to the point that I'm not quite sure what it means, to some stuff that is incredibly specific, where if you Google it, you get like, you know, people putting up part numbers of things they want to see modeled. We generally fall somewhere in between, I'll be honest. Usually I start up with some data that is very specific, like this is an exact part number, and then we end up wandering off a little bit and creating our Friday afternoon live version of the exact specific thing. So please don't be offended if you do ask for something very specific and get something somewhat generic. I did not see your question about starting at the roof and sheathing to the ridge board. That would work perfectly fine too. You'd have your smaller pieces towards the end instead. That would work all right. The spiral staircase, that's a fun one. I do like that. That was, oh, hey, hold up. I gotta run back. This way it'll at least be part of the video, even though we're not covering it during the good stuff. But one of the things that somebody asked about, and I'm trying to remember the kind of roof they called it, but I just want to throw this on here right at the end. Right before, no, it wasn't a living roof. This was actually, this guy unfortunately has asked several times for this, and we've never really got to the point where we've done a whole lot of roofs like this. So when I have my geometry for a roof, so if I take this right now, I'm going to go to the, I had a different name for this than he had. That's why I haven't said the word that what he was looking for. So we do something like this and we get a gable roof. There's more to be added to this. Of course, I go in and put my overhangs and stuff like that. One of the things what somebody asked for was a roof where this basically cuts back at a certain height. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just show you how I would go about it. If I want to make this into a group, I'm going to shift it off on the side. Oops, I'll close that back up. And I'm going to say that right here, we want to take that same slope back up. I'm gonna grab this, flip it around like this. I'm gonna move it then so it intersects like that. Now if I explode that, I can say intersect faces with the model, and then I can get, this is specifically the roof type that has been requested, is that kind of geometry. Like I said, I can't remember the name that he called it, but yeah, this is kind of the detail I was looking for. So if I was to take this, put that here, here's how we can go about finishing that up. I'll take that one, use rotate to put it on the other side of the building. And then I might do something like, actually that would not drop, that would do that.
This would seem like it would be overkill for this shed.
Yes, it would be, but it was more an issue of showing the roof type than it was for the specifics, or this specific model. I take that out ever so slightly. However far I'm coming out, I'll just do 6 inches. And then I could continue this line, this line, this line across, and that could get me my overhang. Obviously with that, I'd have to bring this one down, this piece down further, you get the idea. So that was the request for the this kind of roof. I've heard it called, what do we always call that? We always call that like a gable hip.
There's a bunch of names here. Got a half hip, Dutch hip,
Dutch hip.
gable.
I can't remember the word that he used. Yeah, Dutch hip or Dutch gable is probably what I would have called it back when I was designing roofs. He had a different name for it. But yeah, pretty simple. It's not a difficult thing. The real thing is just, like I said, grabbing that reference plane that's going to be the exact same slope and intersecting that with your main geometry. Pretty easy. Not a complex roof system. That's why we didn't do we didn't do a entire live dedicated to that, because then we just tacked it on to the last 5 minutes. So, all right, with that, I think we will really wrap it up now. You guys, like I said, I'll leave the comments running, so if you guys do want to pop in and have an idea for a stream you want to throw on there, we love that. We collect those. We do have a running list of all of them. Can't say we'll do every single one, but more ideas we have, the more likely we are to hit something that you guys have asked for. So with that, for real this time, we're going to call it. So thank you very much. Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.